Hey everyone, welcome back to East Game, where we give you the X's, the O's, and the insights of NBL1 East. Thanks for joining us tonight on YouTube and Instagram as we're streaming live. And remember, you can follow us on Instagram and Facebook at East Game, or you can continue to find our episodes on your preferred streaming platforms. And while you're there, make sure you check out Cut to the Chase, a podcast featuring current Bankstown Bruin himself, Jason Cadee, and It's a Cole World, a podcast by WNBL champion Beck Cole. Both podcasts brought to you by basketball.com.au. Our very special guest today needs no introduction, but he has gone through a rebrand, so we will nonetheless. He is a familiar face across NBL1 East, whether he's creating content, whether he's on the sidelines cheering for multiple clubs and even commentating for even more clubs. He has recently launched a new outlet called Waratah on VCR. It is James Mullen. Hello, mate. How are you?
Oh, I'm ecstatic. I gotta say, even just listening to the intro music, my heart started fluttering a little bit because it's normally my favorite moment of the week is tuning into the pod. So to be on the other side and watch the magic happen is a little surreal, but it's great to be back, and thank you for having me. We've got a lot to talk about.
We sure do. I did see you smile actually have that visceral reaction to when I played the intro, which I thought got a little bit
I didn't think you could see me. Sorry. Anyway.
I see me as the so-called producer. I can see everything. Nothing gets past me, but in a good way. In a good way. Don't take that as a threat. But it's good to have you back here. And yeah, like we said, you've launched Waratah on VCR. First of all, props on the name, but not surprised that it's such a great name given all the excellent pop culture references you gave us last season on East Game. I still think about the time you name dropped Black Stump. That had me stumped.
Yeah, no, it's been fun. No, it's been a new project, and I think behind the name was I don't know. I find, well, especially with game day gone now, it's actually kind of hard to dig through the archives of Waratah. And I always thought on my previous page, Two Feet in the Paint, that we were kind of documenting the history of the game in New South Wales as it happens, as best we can. Obviously not the sharpest or most professional sometimes, but week by week through interviews, through highlights, through preview shows, and similar to what you guys do, we're creating an archive of what we do, of New South Wales basketball. And I just wanted to kind of reflect a bit on the history, but also record Youth League, Waratah League, and NBL1 East, of course, as it comes up. And I thought that's a good name. And I love the retro references, and there was a lot of puns that you could get from a VCR recorder. So it's been a lot of fun, and there's been a lot of great feedback as well, and a lot of patience with some scraps. But of course, as I've said, this and of course your podcast, this is a side hustle gig, so we don't get it right every time. So, we appreciate the support when people give us a little thank you or give us a little heads up and some information on things.
And you're a media manager for the Spiders now up there at the Brick Pit. I think the last time Spiders had publicity this good was Charlotte's Web.
Oh, damn. All right. Is that a pre-written line? That's good. And you can you should be a commentator. You're great. I've taken up a role with the Spiders. The new CEO reached out to me at the end of last season, and we got chatting, and I was obviously keen to do commentary for the Spiders this year. But I'm also helping out with their media stuff because I think Spiders is going in a really good direction as a club. A lot of new energy, a lot of fresh energy to go along with a really dedicated fan base and player base that's already there. Unfortunately, won't be commentating for Norths or Penrith this year. My ways of doing 3 game days a week is over, committing full time to the Spiders. So we're going to get a bit more quality over quantity when it comes to commentary. Obviously sad to leave the Bear Cave. Had a lot of good memories there over the 4 years commentating, and the 1 year with Penrith as well, where everyone was so welcoming. But really excited for what's going on at the Brick Pit this year.
Hey, look, if the move up the highway is good enough for Ruby Perkins and Waller Gralton, it's good enough for you.
Yeah, of course. That was a package deal. They said if you want Shaq Shore back, if you want Ruby Perkins, if you want Lola, you're gonna have to take this crappy commentator as well. And they said, well, we'll take it.
No way. I'm sure they welcome you with open arms there at the Brick Pit. And yeah, looking forward to you commentating again. Oh, I think you were really going to enjoy just being able to invest a lot of your time and energy and effort just into one club instead of splitting into multiple. And look, with the petrol prices soaring, it's probably a good time just to be going to one venue as well.
Yeah, exactly. And hey, come on, Normanhurst Station is it's only a smooth 10-minute walk from the Brick Pit, so it's all pretty easy. And that hour-long train ride from Central gives me plenty of time to prep.
Just ignore the hills.
Yeah. I mean, we'll be ignoring Hills on the court and off the court as well, because that's the new heated rivalry, Hills and Hornsby.
Woo-hoo!
Anyway,
So it
I'm a good part. We're still warming up.
No, so it should be. That should. I'm surprised that hasn't been a rivalry, like a more emphasized rivalry before, given their locations. But you did say earlier we do have quite a bit to get through tonight, and so this episode we're going to be covering the NBL1 Blitz that was dampened by humidity. We're going to do a quick whip around the league for some signings that we've had in the last week. But then the main focus of our episode today, I'm going to throw to you guys. We're going to talk about our most anticipated NBL1 East teams for the 2026 season. Going to put it in your very capable hands, gentlemen, and I'll be throwing between you two as we discuss the teams that you're most excited to see. And then we might cover what our personal games of the week might be for round one as well, if we have time. So, guys, are we ready to get into it?
Always.
Oh, yeah. Let's go.
Excellent. So, yeah, as I mentioned, the NBL1 Blitz was dampened by humidity over the weekend, with only roughly, 40-50% of the games being able to be played. That is just coming from me based on the information that a lot of our lovely NBL1 East family shared with us in our DMs. But, James, you were there for probably more of it than Lockie was, right?
Well, I was only there for Canberra Comets, so he'd have to have been there for more than I was.
Yeah.
Well, no, I think I was there for even less. Because I went down on the Sunday, because on Saturday I was covering Youth League and Waratah at the Brick Pit. So I went for the Sunday session. Had a bit of fun with the media in the media room. I got to say, Caleb and Aaron and a lot of the other guys, Zach Roberts as well, setting up in the media room was awesome. Over in the PCYC. But then, yeah, we headed across the road for the 10 a.m. time slot, and there was just a bit too much humidity. So, yeah, the courts were very slippery, I will say. Really sticky in some parts, but then really slippery in others. So, by tip-off at 10 o'clock, I think the coaches, officials, and everyone kind of agreed that we shouldn't risk it in preseason on courts that were subprime. So, yeah, I didn't really get any action, but yeah, got a nice trip down to Sutherland. I mean, any excuse to come down to the Shire is why do you need a reason to come down? So yeah, then popped over to Guymere Vinnie's on the way home. Didn't find anything, and then headed home for the afternoon. So it was kind of nice to have a Sunday off, but was craving some NBL1 East action, but got to wait one more week for it.
Yeah, I think it's probably worthwhile waiting a week. We don't want to start what's looking to be an even better season than last year and the year before and the year before that. We don't want to start the season with injuries, so it's probably a good call by everyone just to can it. And I think it sounds like not a lot of teams brought their full roster anyway. Like when we spoke to Will Mayfield last week, he mentioned he wasn't going to be available for the Blitz. And Lockie, it sounds like Comets had a pretty depleted squad as well on the day.
Yeah, they did. So they were playing Youth League against Manly on the same day. So they took some of their players who pulled double duty, like El Fletcher. They went up to take on Manly, where they lost Youth League in overtime. That would have been a big win for Comets. But yeah, so not really a lot you can get out of that Comets Canberra game. Sherika Shillingsworth played. Natalia Beaumont played for Comets. Kirsty Gill, Jacinta Haydar. Alex Oliver, and then a few under 18s as well, whereas Canberra had everyone except Callie Bourne and Katie Jones. So I think it got out to about a margin of 30 at one point, but there's not really much you can take out of the contest, particularly as not only were Comets missing all those players already, they've announced someone else since, who we'll get to in a couple of minutes.
Well, I think that's the perfect segue to do a quick wraparound of the NBL1 East signings from the last week. Lockie, who is that in particular that you are referring to for the Comets?
It's Townsville Fire, WNBL champion, Chantel Horvath, who is straight into All-Star 5 consideration. 10 points per game in WNBL a couple of seasons ago, 7 points per game this year, and she was only originally signed as an injury replacement, I think, officially.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Opal, UCLA alum. You know, she was an Opal's training camp partner at age 18, and everyone raved about her then. You know, injuries have gotten away a little bit, but she's come out the other side, and she's going to be very, very tough to guard. Just her length, her athleticism. She'll grab rebounds for days. She'll score the ball. She's just an excellent signing for a Comets team that, in all honesty, did need a big piece following the loss of Abby Curtin, who's made the move down to Sutherland.
Yeah, I agree. That is an awesome piece and pickup for the Comets, especially with she's going to complement Natalia Beaumont and Sarika really, really nicely. And you've got Perini running the point. So, yeah, the Comets are looking pretty good. Pretty good. What do you think, James?
Yeah, that's the Miles bench connection is working really well. And big shout out to Miles as well. I think before this signing, they're looking like a pretty young squad. But I think with Chantel Horvath, that's that piece that you can kind of center your offense around. I remember I did a preview video about Comets about a week or so ago. I was just thinking there's just a few missing ingredients, but there's a lot of talent on this squad. So I think also just having a more experienced player as well to help out some of those younger players coming through. And it's going to be really valuable. And yeah, again, I know you guys mentioned this last week, but no news yet on Piper Anderson. I know she's injured from what you guys said, but to have Chantel then maybe get Piper in with that Townsville connection. Maybe she'll stay in NBL1 North, who knows? But really great signing for the Sydney Comets.
She is reportedly linked to an East team, but it hasn't been officially announced just yet. So we'll have to keep an eye out for that official announcement for Piper. But back to you, Lockie. What else you got for us for signings of the week?
Well, we assumed North were going to add another piece with Taylor Wirtz not joining, and they've picked up Talia Brugler, who has played in Greece, 6'1". She played at St. Joe's. So she was a conference foe of Izzy Morgan in the A10. 6'1", and surprisingly not a lot of highlight reels out there to watch, but I went and looked at some of her college shot charts, and it looks like the paint has chicken pox. She is just scoring inside all day. So, you hear 6'1", you think maybe a wing, but no, she scores the ball inside, good post moves. I like what I've seen. It's only been a little bit, and I think North could use a true inside presence with that roster. They've got players who can play the 3 and the 4, but maybe not the true 5. And Talia looks like she might be able to slot in there. But I'm sure Renee Garlett will have many, many different lineups, situation-specific lineups ready to go.
And then we've also staying with, you've got someone, big signing for Hills as well. Obviously, Shez is coming back, but I think they've announced an import, Lockie.
They have. So they did, just as we talked last week about Hills being 5-5 when they had both imports available. They've re-signed Kennedy Johnson, who was one of their imports from last season. So they've now got 2 imports because they got Brooke Bielko, the center out of Bryant University, and now they've added Kennedy as well, who was a bit of a revelation for them last season for the Hornets, as they became a bit of a thorn in the side. I know down here at Sutherland last season, they absolutely wiped the floor with us with Johnson and Liz Smith both in the side. So, like Comets, they just needed maybe one or two more pieces, and getting Kennedy Johnson back, I think, is a massive one for them, especially the fact that they know what they're getting as well. You don't really have to integrate her into the side as much as some others. Like, she averaged 10.8 points a game last year, even though she only started two games, and 5.9 rebounds as well. So, very excited to see what she can bring this season with a full season to play.
And another big signing for the men's competition is one that you might want to have a bit of a chin wag with James about, because it's another big North signing. It
is. I think James told me his story about this player already the other day. So, James, why don't you just go ahead and announce it?
It's big Fabs. Fabian Krislovic is back in New South Wales. Finally. I think I don't know. It's been over a decade since he's played in New South Wales. And the last time he did was at my high school. We're in the same year group at school. We graduated in 2013 together, which shows my age a little bit. But I remember I was in the seconds and Fabian was in the first. And so some trainings would match up against each other. And it was just, I was almost hospitalized 3 times from it. He was so good. But it was a privilege just to train alongside him sometimes. And really is kind of what got me into basketball media to start off with, because St. Aloysius, as some people might know, used to not be a great basketball school, but Fabian came along and changed that quick smart. So our year group really got around him, and we created hype videos, highlight reels, and all these kind of things. We got big, I'm not saying we started this in CES, but we started to get huge crowds out that you now see a lot in high school basketball. So Fabs was just a prodigy and a generational talent. Studied his junior career actually in Hornsby for 1 or 2 years, then moved to North as a junior. After high school, went and played in Montana with the Grizzlies for 4 years, graduated, came back, played for the Cairns Taipans, wasn't too sure whether he was going to stay with it, because Fabs actually is a really smart guy. I think he studied medicine over in Montana as well. So he's got other options. I could be wrong about that, but he's a smart cookie. But then started to show out for Cairns in a small role, and then got bigger and bigger and bigger. Was part of that Jack Jumpers original squad, won the championship with the Jack Jumpers, and he was a free agent in the offseason. I was thinking, come on, Sydney Kings or even Illawarra, let's sign him, let's get him back to New South Wales. But he signed with Melbourne United, sure, right, great. But now he's back at the Bear Cave, where I think he played 2014 with the Waratah team just before he went off to college. So that is one of the homecoming stories of the season, I must say. It's so good to see Fabian, like a dynamic center / power forward, more of a center these days, who can shoot inside and outside. But there's a reason why he's almost been in the NBL for a decade, because he's a team first guy, a great defender, always pass up a good shot for a great shot for a teammate. And I can't wait to see him play. He's going to dominate next to Hunter Goodrick as well, which is just unfair. North's is I don't know what to say about it. Like you've got an NBL level caliber front court, and that's before you even get into the guards and the wings.
That was the very well put, very thorough description of Krislovic. Well done, James. You knew that all off the cuff as well. So really showing your expertise to some of our players.
I don't expect that for all the other players. I've just been following Fabs for a while now.
And I'm hoping that you've still got some of those old hype reels that you used to make in high school that you can dig up.
Yeah, we do. The footage was awful. Speaking of VCR, we actually filmed those on the old tape cameras, because the drama department's like, we're not going to give you digital ones, but you can take these old tape cameras if you want to use them. And every week we'd do a G-Up video and record over the same tape. So by the end of the season, it got really worn out. So some of the footage is a bit grainy, but still it shows that Fabs is an absolute monster.
Well, that just means you won't have to put the VCR, filter on it for your Waratah VCR post. You just put the straight up tape up, and you'll be fine.
I'll dig through the archives, but we'll see. Also, my haircut was awful back then, so maybe I won't release them. But
Authentic VCR footage.
Yeah.
And last but not least, Sharky is coming home, Lockie.
Yeah, she is. I'm not going to turn around, but I think you can already guess what name's on the back of this Townsville Fire jersey. Lauren Nicholson. We actually get her for a full season this time. She only took to the court 4 times for the Sharks last season, and it's been a long time since she's played anything remotely resembling a full season, whether it's been Opal's duty or WNBL season running a bit longer, so she's had a bit of rest. Last season, obviously, giving birth, that's a big one. So to have Lauren Nicholson for a full season, because last year the Sharkies, they probably make finals if they have it even for 7 or 8 games, but I mean they tripped up in games they should have won last year. So we all know what Lauren Nicholson do. Probably the best defender in the league, averaged 37 points a game last season. As long as Lauren's on the court, Sutherland can get a win, and with some really good pieces around her, it's going to be a lot of fun down at the Shark Tank where they take on Comets in round 1.
Woo! Your dream matchup for round 1.
Love it. Thanks to the whoever did that draw.
They definitely had you in mind, mate.
Yeah.
Now, I should also mention that if you are joining us live on Facebook, YouTube, or Instagram, you're able to send us a couple of comments. I'm able to put comments on screen from Facebook and YouTube, and Instagram I'm checking periodically. So if you've got any comments or questions while the live stream is on, we'll do our best to get to it as well. So we're going to get cracking now into the main focus of this episode, which is our most anticipated NBL1 East teams for 2026. We're going to cover some of the men's teams and some of the women's teams, obviously, because we love covering both sides of the league when we can. And the guys have done a lot of hard work and preparation for this one, so I'm very keen to hear some of the deep cuts and analysis and expectations that you've both got. So we're going to throw to you first, James. We're going to do some of the men's rosters. And you want to talk to us a little bit more about the Illawarra Hawks?
I do. I mean, there's so much to talk about with all teams, but just before we get to I did pick these teams and teams that I haven't covered in videos and teams that have maybe been a little overlooked in preparation. Because don't want to try to cover everyone by the end of the season, and fingers crossed I can make a video out of this podcast afterwards. Anyway, the collaboration continues, but do want to start with the Illawarra Hawks, who outside Canberra, Maitland, and I got to add North to that list, are definitely a top 4 team after making the grand final last season and just falling short in what was an absolute ripper. That was one of the grand finals for the ages, I got to say, but I think it was just Canberra's time. But Illawarra, I mean, with a relatively new squad that season, managed to pull it together really quickly, and you can tell why with the talent they managed to put together. Now, we'll go through the stars in just a second, but I'm just a bit worried about their depth at the point guard position at the moment, because I think we got news that Lockie Dent is going to either Bendigo or Ballarat, or he's going to mix up. He's going to one of the Ballarat. Victorian teams. There we go. Nice. Oh, love the assists. Great ball movement on this podcast. So he's heading down there. So they've got a bit of a hole in the point guard position, but I think they've actually have got an undercover signing, an underrated signing. I'm just going to go through positions here. But Ethan Moss from Hills, who has helped guided Hills to the last 2 Youth League grand finals, was, I think, star 5 either both years or either of them. And he's, I think, actually could maybe put a bid on that starting spot if he wanted to, Ethan Moss. But a great pickup for the Illawarra Hawks and their program under the second year under Matt Flynn. I think he'll be able to really get the most out of Mossy, who is Liam's brother, I think. So a few people might remember him from that. But yeah, another case of Hills not really holding on to their junior talent, but that's another story. So Ethan Moss, I think that's just a bit of an under the radar signing. But getting to the big guns, looking at the wings, got Matt Mims and Toddy Blanchfield, of course, legendary Townsville Crocs player, Todd Blanchfield, and he's also done a whole lot of other stuff. But when Todd Blanchfield, I think, was the first signing we knew for this season, and that happened like before last season even finished. Of course, the veteran small forward is actually who I based my game off when I was growing up as a Townsville fan. Toddy B, a veteran, had a very solid season as well, still contributing on the NBL level. So he's nowhere near done with his career, and still last season in NBL1 East, he was just on fire. I mean, he was just a class above the rest. I remember commentating a game of his at the Bear Cave, and they, like, no matter how many bodies they threw at him, how many different defensive setups they put, he just kept on scoring. Matt Mims back for another season. I think he will be starting this year. He was a bit in and out with McDowell White last year. They kind of shared the starting shooting guard spot, but I'm really happy to see Matt Mims going to start this year. Of course, the import, we love to see them coming back for a second year, which I was going to say about Kenny Johnson just before. I don't like a one and done import because I think it kind of screws up your continuity and the going through the years. You know, from season to season, you want someone who's actually buying into the city, buying into the team structure. And Matt Mims, from what I can tell, is a real fan favorite down there. A favorite of the Hawks Hangout. Shout out to the Hawks boys down there who did the podcast. I'm sure they'll do a much better preview than I do. So make sure you check that out. Hawks Hangout. They cover NBL and NBL1. So there's your shooting guard and your small forward, Matt Mims, Toddy Blanchfield. But I think the biggest signing was getting Mason Peatling to jump on board. Now, this is a part of that phenomena they're doing down there between the NBL1 and the NBL squad, where they're getting not just guys who are kind of developing or local talent, but they're getting veterans who are setting up their life down in Illawarra to stay around in the off season. And Mason Peatling, now he's the definition of a vet, but he was still starting in the NBL this year, and he has 185 NBL games under his belt. So a little bit of experience, just a little bit. That's 185 games more than me, I can tell you that. He's also a two-time champion, won a title with Melbourne back in 2021, and of course, most recently with Illawarra. So he's got a wealth of experience, a real hard-nosed kind of big, but I think can also do those kind of finesse plays on the outside with his outside shooting, can dribble pretty well, playmate pretty well, but I think he's a team-first guy. But looking at the league this year, now I could be wrong, but things are getting a little shorter. When it's not like the kind of arms race for the bigs that we've seen over the last few years. So I think with Mason Peatling in your front court, he could cause some serious damage. And him and Todd Blanchfield, they're already going to have that chemistry together, but bringing that veteran presence as well is really going to help. And we're talking about the front court. Last player I do want to mention is Phil DePut. Now, it's DePut, right? I know you guys, we call them, what is it, Sweet Chili?
Sweet Chili Philly.
Sweet Chili Philly, or the Philly cheesesteak.
Or the big sweaty boy.
The big sweaty boy, yeah. Whichever flavor you like. Great to see him back. I was really sad to see him leave the conference last season, but he's back as well. And I think him and Mason are going to form a great combination because both of them can pop out if needed. So they're not going to clog up the paint too much for those kind of cutting lanes. They can both run the pick and roll really well. But to see Big Phil back in a Hawks jersey, it just feels right. I messaged this to Lockie early today about Los Nicholson signing, but the equilibrium of the world is back. And I think with Phil back in Illawarra, the equilibrium, the world is at peace again. All the chakras are aligned. And I think he really rounds out this starting lineup well. I think they struggled a little bit. Toby Campbell last year, I just don't think really got into his rhythm with the Illawarra Hawks for whatever reason. I thought he's a great player, but maybe the system didn't quite work for him. So I think Phil, with his versatility to be able to play inside and outside, might fit in a lot better with Matt Flynn's system. And then just to round out the bench, big shout out to Massimino Hobbs, who, if he's listening, actually walked past you outside Gelato Messina in Surrey Hills a couple of weeks ago. And I was really put off. I'm like, wait, do I know you? And then I'm like, wait, no, he's Illawarra, but I'm pretty sure it was you. So if it is, drop me a line. But Massimino Hobbs, I think he's a really strong, athletic power forward. He has been in the NBL1 squad, but hasn't been getting too many minutes previously, but been dominating on a youth league level. So him and also Jonah Flynn, the sharpshooter, are going to be two young guns to watch off the bench this year, as well as Harley Kent, who was originally with Maitland, and I think really found a home in Illawarra. He's a shooting guard, dynamic. I think he can really fill it up when needed. So they've got the veterans starting, got a lot of experience there, and then a lot of young guns off the bench, which I think for Matt Flynn is going to be a winning formula. And the Hawks will be, I think, a top 4 side this year, barring injuries and barring maybe, leaky roofs and things like that.
Yeah, that's a really great rundown there, James. I think on Instagram, we've got a couple of comments here. One person saying, now I feel bad for mispronouncing this person's name, but their Instagram handle is Juan Photos. But they're saying that they love Matt Mims' day in the life stories on Instagram and Reels, really showcasing what it's like to be a pro or semi-pro athlete in Wollongong. I also like them. Also says Mason Peatling, great size at 6'7", will be a walking double-double in the East. And also giving some love to our boy Sweet Chili Philly. And I will just say as a side note to listeners, Sweet Chili Philly is Phil DePuge's nickname that he told us, I think, back in season 1. And we call him Big Sweaty Boy because Rob Shots did a video of Phil mic'd up during a warm-up, and he said, "Oh, I'm just a big sweaty boy." And so that's why we refer to him as Big Sweaty Boy. Yes, so that's some side notes. But that sounds like a winning formula, or definitely a top 4 formula for the Illawarra Hawks. Lockie, have you got any notes on James's great analysis and expectations for this team?
I think he was just about bang on. I don't think there's anything I would really want to add. I do want to just point out that they've got young Aki Langford being elevated to the top, to the NBL1 team this year. But I'm also wondering, guys like CJ Moran, Kyle Leslie, haven't heard anything about either of them yet. Kyle Leslie came out at Nationals with, when Kobe McDowell-White was forced out and just started wetting threes for fun, which we all knew he could do. And I said to John Guana during the call, we know he can do it, but we haven't seen him do it a lot because he hasn't had the opportunity. And then he comes out on the national stage and just starts splashing. So it'd be interesting to see where some of these guys land, and they could really improve their depth down there at Illawarra.
Very good. All right. Well, I think they're definitely going to be one of the most anticipated teams in the men's competition for sure. I mean, like you said, James, bringing in Mason Peatling, he's still, to me, quite a baby-faced NBL player. And I know he's got, I am astounded he's got that many games already under his belt. Is he someone, though, that started playing NBL when he was 18, and it feels like he's a vet because he's been around for so long, but he just started really young?
I think his first season was in 2020-21, I think, according to Google, which I don't have open in front of me. But but I don't know. You're right. I think he is actually still relatively on the younger side, but it just feels like he's been around for a long time. And I think maybe it's his style of play as well. Still very hard nosed, kind of get after it kind of player.
Yeah, I think it's something maybe we can look into in future episodes, or maybe we can get him as a guest and just ask him ourselves. But yeah, I think I wonder if he's just someone who just started really young. But yeah, 185 games already and 2 chips. Props to him. Yeah. And now, Lockie, you're in the hot seat. You're going to take us through the Sydney Comets men's roster. What are you expecting and anticipating from this squad?
Well, James said there's no arms race for the bigs, and I think that's because Comets just signed them all.
Yeah.
So last year, it was all about the backcourt for Comets. We know that. It was Bawali only for 8 games, but Davo Hickey for 5 games. Anthony Mundine leading the way when they weren't there. And even when they were, Davo would defer and say it's Bawali's team or it's Ant Mundine's team, and they all just worked well together. Bawali's gone to the south. Ant Mundine's gone to Bankstown. Davo's in the G League, at least for the start of the season, and we have no idea what he's doing. And even the 4th member of that backcourt rotation, Shuri Saipea, has gone up to Central Coast. So it's all new in the backcourt pretty much for the Comets. And that's where they've gone. I'll start Ahmed or Ty or Boogie, Barber Bay. Out of Fairleigh Dickinson University, formerly played most of his college ball D2 level at Jefferson. Actually dropped 31 points on Boston College in his senior year. So he only averaged 8 points per game, but putting up 30 on a power conference team is it's definitely something to hang your hat on. Shot, shoots a lot of threes, and I think that is probably going to be his game at Comets this year, especially with such backcourt change and shooters leaving. So I think that's probably, I think about 2/3 of his field goal attempts in college actually were 3-point attempts. But also put up 5.2 rebounds and 4 assists per game in his senior year before transferring to D1 college. So very interested to see how he slots in and takes over the role, and what the change will be that Will Hill will have to make between when you've got Bawali Bales, who can just go at anyone and go get a bucket whenever, compared to what Boogie can do. But it really is all about the front court. They got your boy, Akil Douglas, James, from the Hornsby Ku-ring-gai Spiders, after he was electric up there at the Brick Pit. But they've also got the big man, Johnny Sinogarats. They've got Vili Fiketti back, and they've got Obi Che. So that's a lot of height, a lot of length, but they're all guys who don't mind stepping out to take the three. I mean, I've seen Johnny Sinogarats have games where he scored more points from the three-point land than he did from in the paint. Obi Che, we know, loves to, back guys down and take them on going to the basket, but he'll shoot one if he has to. Vili Fiketti will step out. So if they're going to space the floor, some of these bigs are going to probably have to shoot. And Akil, I think, a reasonable percentage of his shots last year were from 3-point range. So, I mean, and he put up 17 points per game. So could be a bit of a change of tack for the Sydney Comets this year, particularly in the starting lineup. And even on the bench, they've loaded up on height. They got Max Nesterov from Manly Warringah, who's pretty tall. Ethan Martin Coney from New South Wales under-20s announced himself last year. He's big, he's young, but he is big across the shoulders. He's got to be 6'7", 6'8". And he's young, but he can play with physicality. The one thing I do have to mention, though, is Ramon Cow was announced a good couple of months ago now, but I heard word that he got an opportunity overseas, so he wasn't at the Blitz. So if that all comes to pass, that is a big-time shooter that the Comets are going to have to make him up in the aggregate, to use a Moneyball quote. So early on, when we weren't hearing about Bawali, we weren't hearing about Davo, Ant left, Bawali left, I was kind of getting a little worried about Comets, especially after finishing top 4 last year. It's going to be a real change in how things work, but I still think they can put it together and at least make a run at the 8. Don't know about the 4 with those teams that James mentioned before, Canberra, Illawarra, Maitland, and now Norths have just gone, next level with this Krislovic signing. So I think the Comets will come out the other side of it all right. James, what do you think Akil's role would be in this team?
Oh yeah, I was trying to figure this out when I was making that Comets video, because I think now with Obi Che, because last second it looked like Christian Okuzo was going to play, but really tragically awful news. I was about to swear, but I didn't. I think he suffered an injury down at Summer Jam, Christian, because I was so stoked to see him back. I remember back in 2024, he was starting to look like a real big time player. But so I think he's out of the mix at the moment. So look, I can see Akil still starting at center, because I think Obi Che defensively can kind of switch into center, but then offensively, I think they'll switch again. But I'm not too sure, because there's so many different looks you can go for. I think depends. If you want more out and out defensive center, I think you go with Johnny in the starting lineup. But if you want to go all big, you can maybe start Akil and Johnny next to each other, but then you're not going to start Obi Che. And you're right though about Ethan Martin Coney. I think he could start on almost any other team as well, but they're just so log jammed in that front court. But I see Akil Douglas starting at center. He did have a lot of foul trouble last year though. So I think he would actually sacrifice a little bit of defense. And I think that was mainly just getting used to the Australian game, not because he's not a capable defender, but just getting used to the play style. But I reckon you'd see Obi and Akil starting as your 4 and your 5.
And I mean, it's also worth remembering that they do have the voice, Baby Chol, returning, who's will shoot it a bit. His numbers were a bit down last year, but he'll shoot it when he gets the chance. Good defender. And then little Isaac Gundy, man, absolute energizer bunny on defense. So, if they need to throw a couple of guys there in the backcourt, they've definitely got options. I mean, it trends big, but I don't think they'll be one-dimensional in any sense of the word.
And just a side note, Baby Chol, if you're listening to this, we would love to have you on the show. We've hit you up on the DMs. Come back to us. We've got a seat ready and waiting for you to be a guest. I will say on Instagram Live, we've got some comments actually about Akil. Big loss for for Hornsby Ku-ring-gai Spiders. Given he's 6'10", can score at will, but perhaps not the best rebounder. What do you guys think? Do you think his rebound numbers could probably improve?
I mean, he had 5.3 last year. I mean, it partially depends on what role he plays, doesn't it? If he's shooting a fair whack of threes, he's not going to be getting many O boards. But I think this Comets team will be fine rebounding by committee, to be honest.
Yeah.
You might get to the end of the year and look at them individually and go, he should have got more rebounds, and say that about 3 or 4 different players. And then you look at the team rebounding numbers and be like, oh, it's fine.
Yeah, it's definitely a deadly defensive lineup, especially on those tight Comet courts. Comets teams from junior reps all the way up love to press, but with Chol, Vlami, Obiche, Johnny, it's just a great lockdown defensive team. So I think you're right, they will rebound by committee, but I think you will see Akil with a slightly different role, because I think him and Aaron Redhead were kind of sharing minutes last year. By sharing minutes, I mean on the court at the same time. So Red normally played in the paint, and then Akil would step out. So I think you'll see more inside this year.
Very good. And now we're going to take a dive into the Shark Tank, James. You're going to take us through the Sutherland Sharks men's roster as it stands. We should say as it stands.
Oh no! What? Damn, Lockie, you really should have put your foot down and said, "No, I'm doing Sutherland." But hey, this is an outsider's guide to the Sutherland Sharks. Well, I guess I have been in the Shark Tank once this year already, but haven't really seen much. And did actually catch the Sharkies Waratah men, who had a narrow loss to Hornsby. Sorry, on Saturday, and then the Youth League men as well were they got to win the Sharkies, and the Mulhollands really tore it up. They looked really promising, and I think that actually carries through to the NBL1 squad, where there is just so much depth in this team. But starting with their starting 5, it's a good place to start. They've got so much experience, and just looking up and down, it just seems like a team that could really put a good playoff run forward, similar to what they did a couple of years ago to take out the championship, because there is so much experience in the starting lineup. Of course, starting with Lockie Hutchinson. Was he ever not going to sign with the Sharks? It's just like there's just the male version of Loz Nicholson just on the other side. Like, was he ever going to go anywhere else?
Well, considering he is also the club's high performance manager, probably not.
Yeah, probably not. It'd be a bit strange. But Lockie Hutchinson's back. I mean, pretty much your perfect point guard, I got to say. Can shoot, run the pick and roll really well, is unselfish, but always with Lockie Hutchinson, it's that intense, hard-nosed on-ball defense, which I think really stands out about his game, which I'd say it as the top of the spear, it's a really strong place to start, pressing up against players, really getting up and in and putting the opposition's point guard kind of out of their step, and delaying that shot clock start. So to have him as the first line of defense, I just think's great. So with Lockie Hutchinson, we all know what he can do. And in shooting guard, I've got in the starting 5, I've got Adrian Cabrera. And I'm just going to say, I do go through positions like I'm an old school man, going the shooting guard and the power forward and the center, and the swing man. But it is just a rough way of getting an idea. So look, these aren't perfect positions. I know in the modern game people just switch around, but yeah, shooting guard Adrian Cabrera, back from, I think he had a lot of injury trouble last season. Adrian is just a hyper athlete, and again, another great defender to go along. Lockie Hutchinson, I think they would have played, Lockie, I might be wrong, might be right, but it's going to be about 4 seasons at the top flight together now, maybe even 5.
I think it's every season of NBL1.
Yeah,
Since it became NBL1. Yeah.
So the chemistry is really there. I just really hope Adrian can stay healthy this year because, I mean, we saw what he did in that championship year as well. He can really make a big difference for a team, and he can also step up and score. Now, I can see him being a 15-point per game player. Maybe not so much on this squad, but we will get back to some of the scoring options later. But on both ends, Adrian Cabrera is just, again, another prototypical player in his position, a great shooting guard, a hyper athlete, and yeah, I can't wait to see what he can do this season. But backing those two up, I think are 2 players that were really going to make a big splash this year. It's Bailey MacArthur and Harry Rayner. Now, Bailey MacArthur is looking like he's about to explode this season, just coming off a championship with New South Wales under 20s in the off-season. Bailey MacArthur was one of the leaders of that squad, and a squad that was full of so much talent. So to have Bailey MacArthur, I think coming off the bench, I wouldn't be surprised to see him starting a few games in that 2 spot. Again, these are just rough, just to give you an idea of the squad. But Bailey MacArthur's got a extremely bright future. So ladies and gentlemen, tune in while you can on the NBL1 website, because you're not going to be able to watch him for free for too much longer. And Harry Rayner as well, his 2nd season after joining the Sharks, coming up from Melbourne. I think had a good season in UBL in the just keeping the motor running in the off season, but I think he's definitely a good option at that 2-guard position. And I think with another year under his belt with the Sharkies, he can go to the next level. A player you mentioned last week as well, Jaden Tanevsky, huge shout out to the St. George product as well. What was it, 36 points or 35 points he averaged in Waratah League? Come on, man. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. And like Waratah League is no slouch of a league as well, like especially defensively. So to see him getting opportunities is just wonderful. So in the backcourt positions, the Sharkies have depth for days and a lot of different players they can chuck out there, but a lot of high energy players. So they're not going to lose much defensively. Moving into the forwards positions, Luke Jamison back for another year. We saw what he can do last season and seen it for years and years now. An absolute walking bucket. And very versatile as well. Kind of has the skill set of guards sometimes, but is tall enough to slot into the 4 and maybe even the 5 sometimes. But alongside him was one of the big signings, Will Mayfield, and you guys talked about last week, Lucas Walker back in NBL1 East, but with the Sharks this time. So I'll tell you what, that is just going to be such a great signing for the Sutherland Sharks. Defensively is a real enforcer, which I think is going to really shore up that front court. But if this team didn't have enough veteran leaders, he's definitely going to be very vocal out there and really strengthen them defensively. And look, I don't care how old Lucas Walker is, he can probably still throw him down with the best of him, because remember back in his NBL days, he was a human highlight reel. I think he still is. He's just gone digital now. So it's not a highlight reel anymore. It's more of a highlight MP4. So to add him in, I think is a great pickup, especially with some of the uncertainty with who else is going to join the lineup. I think Lucas Walker's a real team first guy. So whether he's coming off the bench or whether he's starting, he'll fit in really well. And a player who you could also say that for is Big Jimmy Hunter, coming down from the Hunter to Sutherland. Again, I've been talking about the veteran experience on this team, and you can't get much better than Jimmy Hunter. One of the funniest guys in the league as well. I reckon one of my favorite East Got Game episodes was when you guys got him on last season. He was just a pleasure to listen to, but it's also a pleasure to watch out there. One of those real old school basket to basket bigs, and was, I think, a real underrated part of Maitland's success in the NBL1 East era. I mean, they had so much star power, but Jimmy Hunter week in, week out, whether he was starting or whether he was coming off the bench, he's just a constant contributor. And hey, when the offense isn't working, sometimes you can just throw it into Jimmy Hunter and he'll get you a bucket. He's got that back to the basket game. So looking at that lineup of Hutchinson, Cabrera, Jamison, Walker, and Hunter, and then players like Harry Rayner, even Ryan Abbott, who I think is going to go to another level now that a lot of his competition players like Angus Lake have kind of freed up minutes for him because he's gone to Bankstown. Young guns like Bailey MacArthur, Jaden Tenevsky, and Angus Skrabinczek, if he does end up on the squad, shout out to my UNSW alumni. I think they've got a really well-rounded squad with veterans to sail them, like keep them on a good track, but then also plenty of young talent off the bench to energize that roster. But yeah, it could really turn some heads, and especially as the season goes along, I think those veteran players are really going to hold them in good stead. Oh, of course, under Master Coach Sean Roger as well. But I reckon Sharkies have a few tricks up their sleeves, as they always do. Of course, the NBL season's still going with the Kings in the finals. So I don't know. I reckon there's still a big name coming here. And Lockie, would you like to lose your job by revealing all the trade secrets?
No, I would not, because I actually don't know any names, to be honest.
That's good,
I mean, the glaring thing is that they haven't announced any Kings players yet. Like they haven't announced Spurgeon or Kawatnoy coming back, so the spots are there, kind of thing. It's like, surely there's something coming, but
maybe.
Who knows? Yeah.
It definitely seems like they got spots for him to say, to say it. Yeah,
like, they've probably announced 9 players who are legit, 9 maybe 10 players who are legit members of the squad at this stage. And they have definitely left room to move.
Yeah. And we know the Sharkies love a bit of theatrics as well. They had us holding on yesterday for the Loz Nicholson signing. So, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. And would love to see those 2 players you mentioned back with the squad, because, I mean, just looking at their makeup right now, there's kind of the 2 positions they could really elevate. But as I said, as the squad stands now, they could still be extremely effective and piss off a lot of teams, and I reckon even scrape out a few wins in the finals as well.
Thank you, James. That's very nice of you to say.
Thank you.
I think the only I would like to see someone like Kawatnoy back in the East, whether it's for Sharks or anyone else, just because he pulled such great crowds at the Shark Tank and put a lot of eyes on NBL1 East, whether it was for his performance, winding up people on socials. Either way, we'll take it. We'll take those eyes on the East. So hopefully he will be back in one way or another. But I think you're both right. We've got to expect one or two Sydney Kings signings back in the Shark Tank. It's almost like, the relationship you talked about earlier with the Sydney Comets women's signings, pulling some talent from across the nation. I'm sure there's going to be relationships there too that's going to be coming to fruition for Sharkies. And Instagram Live, we've got some comments. Rayner is a true point guard. If he played in another team, he'd likely be starting. We got a comment about Jaden is definitely an NBL1 player. Lucas Walker turns 42 in December. Salute to you, Lucas Walker. And he is in impeccable shape.
Yeah.
So yeah, props to you, Lucas. But yeah, Sharkies again going to be turning up this 2026 season in the East.
Hopefully, it make my job a lot more exciting.
And Lockie, I would argue this is your favorite men's team next to your beloved Sharkies, the Canberra Gunners.
Oh, you're going to get me in trouble with people. But I do love, they're just a great set of blokes, the Canberra Gunners. We had Will on, bumped into Glenn in Singapore. I'll be dining out on that story till the day I die. But yeah, Canberra. Well, where do they go from here? What are they going to do for an encore?
Mm-hmm.
Defending national champions, finished in a 3-way tie for first in the regular season, won the grand final, won the national championship on their home floor. Will Mayfield scooped all before him. And now they got a clean slate. We got to back it up and do it again. Everyone starts 0-0 as of this weekend. So, but they are bringing back a lot of pieces, but they are missing Derek Emalafonwu. which is a big out for them. And it looks like his season stats weren't eye-popping, but what he did in the grand final, just going off like that, is just, if that's a precursor of things to come, then they are going to miss him in that vein of form. But they do have Darnell Hoskins Jr. coming up. So he played Big V for RMIT. He was actually a college teammate of James Tui at Saginaw Valley State, which I think is massive. If you can get a college teammate of one of your veteran, most respected players, and he says, I like this guy, that's instant, instantly, you're going to get someone good, someone that is going to be great for the culture. And I think we'll say that he's actually rooming with Tui. He's staying at Tui's place. So it looks like this. Interesting to say, I think, so they'll start Hoskins alongside Tui, I reckon, and then Mayfield, and then I think, just looking at the lineup so far, Pender, and then Morrison when he's fit, because we know he's out. He could be out a little bit at the start of the season, or limited in minutes at least. Early doors, Glenn Morrison, because his season in Sweden was cut a little short. So that looks like it could be the starting lineup, but we'll go back to Hoskins. So he averaged 22 points per game down in Big V last year in the championship. And doesn't get a lot of rebounds, doesn't get a lot of assists, but Derek didn't either. Derek only averaged 2 and a bit assists and 2 and a bit rebounds, and Hoskins only just below that. So with Canberra, they assisted on 58% of their field goals, but no one averaged more than 4 assists, which I think is very Canberra-esque, is that anybody can be the last player to touch the ball. Glenn throwing it out of the paint. Will doing whatever Will wants to do and finding a teammate. They're always going to know where Tui is on court. Just whatever play they come up with, it could be anyone dishing the final pass. And I think that's what's great, is that their assist rate was high, but no one was getting a lot of assists. So the fact that they brought in a pure scorer almost that isn't getting a lot of assists doesn't really bother me. And Hoskins also shot 53% from 2-point range in Big V. So he was getting to the rack and, he was efficient. I do think, and I'll talk about the draw for a minute, because I talked to Pete Harak at the Blitz, and they've got a tough draw to start. They've got Manly away, Illawarra at home, and then the Maitland-Newcastle road doubleheader, with Maitland on the Saturday night, which they're going to be up for. And then they've got to back up and play Newcastle probably at noon the next day on 16 hours rest if they're lucky. So they really need to jag 1 or 2 of these. Manly have got, I don't know, the problem with imports is you don't always know when they're arriving. Emmanuel Shamunga for Manly, the big 7-footer. Obviously, James, you talked about Illawarra's front court depth. Maitland have got Miles Cherry. If Glenn's a bit limited, there are opportunities for other teams. But I think once Glenn Morrison is back and he's fully fit, they'll be fine. And they're just one of those teams where, as long as they're in the finals, they can make a run. They don't even have to finish top 4. Obviously, I think we all expect them to make top 4, but even if they don't, if they finish 5th or 6th, they can still make a run. We've seen it with teams before. So I think, Canberra, they just come back. We talked about it with Will. Everyone tries to reload every year. Canberra roll up with 80% the same squad for the last 5 years and make the semi-finals, if not better, just about every year. So I don't think we have to have too many worries about what the Gunners are going to do. Really looking forward to seeing Cam Pender go to another level again. So versatile, big, still so young as well. I think we forget how young he is because of how he plays, and I think that's going to become a theme for these physical players. You think even like someone like a Billy Parsons at Maitland, although he's also been around forever. Like, can you believe he played on that ACL after like 8 months. So yeah, no qualms with how Canberra are going to go this year. I think status quo, maybe changes a bit with Hoskins instead of Emma but for the most part, he'll fit in because he's got that relationship with Tui already. And well, there's only one train line out of Canberra, but all aboard the Canberra train.
Jump at Murray's bus, why not?
Oh, mate, I would have platinum status with the Murray's coaching service if they had frequent flyers. The amount of times I've caught that bus between the Jollymont Centre and Sydney Central Station, should have my own seat. But I will say, even though you mentioned, Lockie, that if the Gunners don't happen to make top 4, they will obviously still definitely make top 8, and they'll be able to make a run for it at finals. They're a team that, because of their long-standing roster who have been together for a long time, the culture is well ingrained and very stable. They're very good at playing when their back's against the wall. They're very good at able to fight their way out. We've even seen it in games, the way that they're able to turn it around just in a quarter to clinch a win against top teams like Sutherland and Maitland in the past. So they're very good at rising to those challenges.
I was just about to bring up the semi-final against Sutherland, unfortunately, but it had to be mentioned that they have done things like that before.
Yeah. And on Instagram Live, we've got SJ from Love of the Game saying, James, that Mo is looking fire.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm just trying to look like Ron Burgundy, why not? Yeah, people normally say it's either a porn star mustache or it's a nice kind of Sicilian look, which I'm pretty happy about. Thank you. I hope it just improves the commentary this year.
But James, do you have any final notes on the Canberra Gunners before we move on?
No, really well covered. And again, the interview with Will Mayfield last week, I think, covered a lot of the kind of behind the scenes stuff. So definitely everyone go check that out. Go listen to that right after this if you didn't catch it at the time. But just one thing, it is about the depth for Canberra. And I think Will talked about all the competition coming through, not just the juniors, but even through things like the Canberra Academy. There's always players knocking on the door. And I remember talking to Pete Harak about this as well. He says there's a lot of players have to maybe go to other clubs, even though it's pretty difficult because there's no real neighbouring clubs to get an opportunity. But it means the guys who are there really fought for their position. And I think guys like Zach McDermott, Will Rice, Big Wither as well, these guys who are pushing through, Mitch Robinson as well, they're really pushing through and challenging those starters. So, look, if some of their big players get injured or they're unavailable for whatever reason, there's always going to be so much depth. Even I think Rob Emilifonwu as well. If Derek's not there, why not just get his brother? I'm not sure if he's back this season, but he's even another player who's kind of knocking on the door. So the depth of Canberra is really their strength to go along with their star lineup. But it's really a squad that runs almost like 20 deep, really.
And I will also, I've neglected to mention, and this was a big thing that when I talked to Glenn, was Ev Wardlow. Probably didn't have the best time of it at Central Coast, came to Canberra, fit straight in, and that's almost given them the confidence to go out and get a second import, which Canberra never do. They hit on an import, they got a really good culture fit, and they were happy to go and get a second one. So they believed they could find, they'd got an import they really like and figured they could do the same again.
Very good indeed. Now, SJ from Love of the Game has a great question on Instagram Live, but I'm going to hold on to it until we have finished covering all the men's teams that we're anticipating for the 2026 season. So, James, we're going to handball and we're going to volley it back to you now. This is probably a team I know least about, so I'm really keen to see what you got for us. It's the Penrith Panthers in the men's competition.
Yeah, and that's why I did want to cover them, because I was looking up and down all the teams and all, especially the men's sides, and who doesn't really get much love and coverage. Of course, if you want Bankstown men's stuff, go to Love of the Game, go check out SJ's stuff. He'll give you like more detail than anyone ever will or ever can for Bankstown and plenty of other teams. So Bankstown obviously have a big team coming up this season, but I think they're pretty well covered. The media team does a great job. North's, I said, did a preview video on the Bulls as well. I think SJ's done a lot of interviews with some of those Bulls players. So those teams are looking great this season, but I think they do get covered, and they get a lot of love for good reason, because they're going to be really exciting this season. But of course, we can't talk about every team, and I do want to give my Penrith Panthers boys a bit of love, because I think they do fly under the radar a lot of the time, especially considering it is a lineup that doesn't necessarily get that many imports in. A lot of them are local Penrith juniors, which I really respect about the program out there. And plus, they're a really dedicated group, the men's and the women's team, and everyone involved with Penrith as well. So big shout out to Daniel Schwarzer as well, who really organised everything there. I hope she tunes in, but it's the mum of Brody Schwarzer, so there you go. But yeah, Penrith Panthers, of course, they are going to be a bit of a nomad team this year, playing in a few different venues. So, I mean, maybe it was a little harder to recruit players in who maybe don't want to be traveling so much, even if they do live in the Penrith area or around kind of that western suburbs area. But it doesn't mean that they're lacking in talent, because one of my players who I think a lot of people are starting to agree is one of the underrated players of the league is Jonah Perez. Now, he finished in the final 5 for Youth Player of the Year. And if I could dream up a point guard that I'd want to run my squad, it'd be Jonah Perez. He is an exquisite passer. He's one of those players, if nothing's doing, can just put his head down, get to the ring, either draw a foul or finish in a tight situation. He's as I said, very unselfish, so sets up his teammates and really brings out the best in a lot of them. I remember he even got Player of the Week last year. I think it was a game against, I think, the Bulls. I might be wrong, but he almost had a triple-double because he rebounds a lot as well. So Jonah Perez is one of those hard-nosed, hard-working point guards, and I just think he's really underrated. So if you get a chance to watch Penrith this year, definitely keep an eye out for Jonah. And one of his running mates as well, who's stepping up from Youth League, is Adrian Vuljanic. Sorry if I've scoffed the pronunciation there. So Adrian, Jonah, and Brody were all part of that. I think it was the 2023 Youth League Championship team that Penrith had. They won it under Coach Jared Moore. I think it was 2023 or 2022. It was one of those years. They won the Youth Men's Championship, but because they didn't have an NBL1 squad, a lot of those players went elsewhere. The Fatui Whāmau was a part of that squad as well. But Adrian was one of those players who was part of that squad. I think him and Jonah went to Bankstown for a little bit, but now they're both back with Penrith. Adrian just played Youth League this year, but he's going to be playing NBL1 this season. So it's good to see Adrian and Jonah back together in the backcourt. And I think they could cause a lot of trouble. I think Adrian averaged around 15 points in Youth League last season. So he's definitely no slouch of a player, more of a shooting guard, and can really get him up in a hurry. Here's a Eastcott game exclusive as well, because I saw him at the Blitz. Jesse Weinstein, brother of Jake Weinstein from Norths, will be sitting up for Penrith. I ran into him in a stairwell on Media Day. I'm like, oh, you're playing for Penrith this year. So he maybe didn't get the chance he deserved with Illawarra last season for obvious reasons. They've had so much depth, but Jesse Weinstein, I think, will be playing for Penrith in NBL1 this season. So another young player who could really surprise. Had a stellar high school career, I think, out at Newington. Has bounced around a little bit from club to club looking for his opportunity, but Jesse Weinstein's still very young and could really contribute to the squad. The other guards they have, Ben Kieran's, Big BK, Big Nugs. Make sure you get I don't know if they're going to have them at these new venues, but either way, I'm sure they're in strict negotiations to say we need camera set up, speaker set up, and we need a deep fryer. So Ben Kieran's going to get cooking. The veteran is back. He's the heart and soul of this Penrith program. And I would love to see tactically BK play a little more of the 2-guard this year, let Jonah run the point and free up Ben to do a little more scoring. I think he's really effective as well playing off ball. And if he can focus a little more on just like getting those jump shots up, cutting off ball, looking for those tries, I think that's the way forward for Penrith, because they normally would share minutes at the point guard, either be Jonah or Ben last year. But I think to have Ben off the ball and Jonah running the point, I think could really unlock the potential of both players. But there is also an import that they've got. I don't know, do New Zealanders count as imports?
You can have 2 imports plus 1 Asia Oceania, so sort of.
There you go.
Half.
All right. I was thinking more like the 1900s constitution, whether New Zealand's still technically part of Australia. Because I think in the constitution it does
That's
mention...
retro even for you, mate.
Yeah, thank you. I think if they want to join in, they can. I think there's still a membership offer, but New Zealand never got back to us on that one. But it is Hosea Lacey. Now I don't know a whole lot about him, but from the scouting report they put up and the highlights they put up on the Penrith social media, he's originally from New Zealand. Played originally for the Manawatu Jets. That's a great name. Shout out to the Newtown Jets, where he played in their grand final team in 2020. He since has played professionally in Ireland, from what we know. But besides that, it was a little hard to find a little bit of information on him. But from his scouting report, he's a dead-eye shooter, like one of those really quick trigger guys. So shooting was a bit of an issue for Penrith last year. So hopefully Lacey can come in and sort that out. But speaking of shooting, Brody Schwarzer is also back, a player who I think has tremendous amounts of potential. Sounded like Donald Trump there, tremendous amounts of potential. It's Brody Schwarzer. And Brody is a really athletic small forward, but he uses that height, he uses that athleticism to be able to get his jump shot off from anywhere on the court. So Brody Schwarzer, I know in their first NBL1 year, he had a few 20-point performances. I think has maybe... had a different role over the last few years, but they also do have a new coach right now, who I'll get to in just a moment. But Brody Schwarzer, I think, can really go to the next level this year. Just give him the green light and get out of the way. He also has some of the funkiest shoes and socks combination. I think he had Powerpuff Girls shoes and socks last season. So keep an eye out for that, but also keep an eye out on him on defense and make sure you get a hand up. All right, no one wants to go on the Powerpuff Girls. Anyway,
no, so, I love the Powerpuff Girls. I was impressed by that.
Yeah,
but was it all three Powerpuff Girls, or was it just one of the three? That's what I want to know.
I think it was all three.
Nice.
I mean, because Brody Schwarzer does everything in threes, including point scoring. So, moving off as well, Jet Hickson, which I know you guys mentioned last pod, is a young gun who can really fill it up in a hurry, and I want to see him get an opportunity this year, Jet Hickson. I think he averaged 27 points in Youth League 2 years ago to bring them up to the bring them back up to Division 1. I think that was in 2024. And Jet Hickson, anytime he stepped onto the court last season with the Penrith Panthers, he was just electric, had some huge dunks. And is one of those players who gives you like 15 points in 15 minutes. He can score every which way, ball handle, shoot. Oh my God. He's just got everything in his bag, Jet Hickson. So Penrith Panthers, I really hope they do give him the keys to the offense this season. So between him and Brody, I think that's your wings covered. Josh Cowie is back as well, Penrith born and bred. And yeah, an experienced player on a team that is quite young at the moment. So Josh is back, had a few injury troubles last season. But I think Josh Cower can really contribute either in the 4 spot or the 3 spot. I think he'll be playing the 4 a lot. He is very versatile, though, so he can cover a lot of different positions. So I'm really happy to see that. But I think one of the big pickups of the season, and again, SJ has been doing a lot of good coverage on this because he is a Bankstown player, has switched over. So it's almost a trade for Zeke Evans. It is Simon Crepez, who helped to lift Bankstown Bruins to the Youth League Championship last season. And he's just a monster. I don't know what he has for breakfast. I don't know what his gym routine is, but he's just a monster. He's a specimen of an athlete. And that really helped them out last year, the Bankstown Bruins. But of course, because of the stacked Bruins NBL1 squad, he only played Youth League, but I think was in the Star 5, was definitely in the top 5 scorers in Youth League last season. So that's a big pickup. So he left Bankstown for an opportunity with Penrith, and I think Simon Crepez could be a real dark horse and shock a lot of people this season. Not too sure what's going on with Bankstown not retaining some of their youth talent, because I know Joni Tuilata is going to Hills, I saw, and I don't think Tom Buvak's coming back for their youth league. So yeah, plenty of talent at Bankstown now, looking for opportunities at other clubs, and I think Simon's really going to benefit from that. He is just he puts the power in power forward, but I think he can also cover the centre. Noah Webb, Youth League centre for Penrith Panthers, he could also step up. But they're all going to be playing under coach Matt Porter, who I was talking about the Youth League 2 championship they got in 2024. He was their coach for that year, Coach Jet Hickson. So he's been around Penrith for a while now and familiar with a lot of these players through the Youth League system. Jared Moore not coaching NBL1 this season, but I think still involved with Penrith. But Matt Porter, really excited to see what this Penrith squad can do with a new coach and so much young talent that's hungry to prove a point.
You got any scoop on the Fatui Famoe brothers?
I did not, unfortunately. I'd love to see them back this season, but I honestly, just to speak candidly, I'm not too sure what happened. They kind of felt like they had a few injury concerns, and so I always get them mixed up. So I'm not too sure which one was injured at one time, but it kind of fell out of the rotation in that opening year for Penrith, their 2023, their first year in NBL1 East. They got big minutes, but since then their minutes have been declining. So not too sure what they're up to. I wish I did know because I'm a big fan of the Fatui Famoes, and I think I think they could have been better utilized over the last few years. So hopefully they'll be back. But again, I think a lot of players like even players like Adam Luca, who was there last season, Adam Luca, haven't decided to come back. But I think again the whole stadium situation has really, I think, turned a lot of players off because they don't want to be traveling to, no offense, it's a beautiful region, but traveling to Hawkesbury for a home game or traveling to Minto for a home game. I know, I'd love to. I know, but you want a home stadium. You want a den.
Hawkesbury is my home stadium.
Yeah, okay. Well, yeah, actually, they might need a commentator, so maybe drop them a line for that one. But again, I think you want. Yeah, it's a bit of a tough sell for the coaches and the administrators to say, hey, like we don't really have a home ground this year. So I don't know. It's I feel sorry for them, but that's why I did want to shine a bit of light on some of the talent coming through the Penrith system.
Very well
done. They still got great
James.
players.
Yeah, they do, and I think you're right. Probably a team that needs to be showcased a little bit more. So all of your insights and your hard work has definitely been very helpful. I feel like I've downloaded a new chip on Penrith Panthers, and my software has now been upgraded. So thank you for that. That was very helpful. We had SJ from Love of the Game on Instagram saying that Caprez averaging, he's predicting he's going to average a double-double. Also put in All-Star 5 and I guess F MVP, so I'm guessing fan MVP perhaps.
I think that's finals MVP.
Finals MVP,
yeah, right.
My bad. Big call though. And yeah, getting props to you again, James, for that great breakdown and analysis of Penrith Panthers. So well done. Love your work. This is why we have you on, mate.
No, thank you. I swear I think about other things during the week. But no, it does help. And as I say, like guys like you, Love of the Game, Hawks Hangout, all kind of help me to learn more as well. So.
Oh, and just to clarify, I thought SJ was predicting Caprez.
Oh yeah, it was Youth League Finals MVP.
He was in Youth League. He was Youth League All-Star 5 and Finals MVP. Yeah. That makes a lot more sense. So, yeah. All right, we've only got one more team to go here for the men's competition, and we still got to get to the women's. So. Everyone get comfy. Lockie's going to now take us through the men's team for the Hills Hornets for 2026.
Yeah, and James just dropped that Jonah Tuolata signed for Hills, which is something that's slipped through my
It was just on social media over the weekend. I think they were filming an ad for one of the car companies that sponsors Hills, and I'm like, oh, what's Jonah Tuolata doing in Hornets polo? So
there we go.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh. Yeah, Hills. I think I have referred to them on multiple occasions as in previous years, that team you don't want to face when you need a win to make finals late in the season and they're already knocked out, because they are going to trip you up. And I'm pretty sure they're absolutely sick and tired of being that team, especially in that season when they had CB, Chris Bryant, as their import, and they were literally one win away from making finals. They were almost Hayden Blankley throwing the ball into the speakers above Sutherland Basketball Stadium away from making the finals. But we move on. They finished 8-12 in 2025, but they did knock off Comets on one occasion. Also got Norths. So did show that they have the ability to take on the big teams, and actually finished 7th in the league for defensive rating last year, but their offense was 13th in the league. So, one goes up, one goes down. But so their big outs, well, I assume Dengak is as an out because they signed Gun Majak from Bankstown, and then Zach Hudson, who didn't play the last few rounds of last season. So they needed a new import, and they've signed Sean Stewart, who's come over from the Goldfield Giants of NBL1 West. So over there at the home of the Super Pit, Kalgoorlie.
Oh.
And he went off for Goldfields Giants last season. 22.5 points a game, 49.7% from the field, 81% at the line, which Squin will love. 6.6 rebounds, 5.8 assists, and importantly, 2.2 steals per game. So they went out and got an offensive weapon, but he can still do it at the defensive end as well. Because to paraphrase Ben Franklin, those who would give up essential defense to purchase a little temporary offense deserve neither offense nor defense. And we've seen it before. Teams are outstanding defensively. They go and sign this offensive weapon, and the defense falls in a hole, and their team doesn't improve. But we're thinking Sean Stewart.
So you really got me there.
They have allayed all concerns there. So I'm really looking forward to watching him. Importantly, doesn't shoot a lot of mid-ranges either. Either gets to the rim, shoots it from three-point range, not a lot in between. And it's a good thing because he was sub 30% from the mid-range last year, whereas he was up around 60% around the rim. So he's getting to the basket. So watch out for that. But aside from that, they bring back a member of James' favourite family, Liam Moss. They've got Jacob Foy returning. Meek Payne comes back. So they do have one of their imports coming back. So a bit of continuity. So, apart from, so they have Moss, probably Jacob Foy, Meek Payne in the starting lineup. I'm thinking maybe they throw Majak in there for a bit of rim protection. I mean, the first time Squin and I watched him start a game, all he did was block shots for the first quarter for Bankstown in round 1 of last season. So that was incredibly fun to watch. But they've also added Ned Carr from Pakenham in the Big V. He was an end-of-the-bench guy for Dandenong in South a couple of years ago. Didn't get a lot of playing time, but then moved to Big V and was putting up 22 points a game, just like Darnell Hoskins at Canberra. So another scorer. And they picked up Josh Payne from Norths, who I have been reliably informed, and James, as a University Basketball League commentator, you will know that he once went off for 40 in a grand final, hit 10 threes.
Yeah, big time. I mean, yeah, it's can I just talk about Josh Payne for 1 sec?
You certainly can. Go for it.
Yeah. No, I'm really happy to see him get his opportunity because I know over the last 2 years he's really struggled with injuries. Like he would have been a big part of North's NBL1 squad, but again, there was just injuries. I'm not too sure where. I think it was legs region. So if he's fit and healthy, he can really go to the next level. But had a stellar UBL career, stellar youth career as well. And I think Josh Payne, when he's healthy, can really do some damage. So I'm just really happy to see Josh Payne still hanging around, not giving up on it after some horrific injuries he's suffered. So big shout out to Josh Payne and Matt Payne as well, his brother. There you go.
And, I mean, they have brought back actually quite a lot of last year's team. They brought back Paithma Moisia. Big Paul Taco will help shore things up in the centre. So imagine him and Majak will sort of tag team it a little bit. And, of course, you can't talk about Hills without talking about Saxon Orsini.
Mm-hmm.
He is so exciting to watch. Just he made his debut for Hills at Sutherland a couple of years ago, and my co-commentator Jake just can't get enough of him. Just the way he plays, he's so exciting, can shoot the lights out. And massive on TikTok apparently as well. Or at least entertain. I'm not on TikTok, but Jake says that he is quite entertaining on the old TikTok. So
yeah, and
give
also
him a follow.
also, I think sells basketball shoes as well. So hit him up if you need any. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah. So I mean, I think Hills from 8 and 12. I think they've made a good couple of improvements. I mean, Stuart, his stats, especially his scoring stats over in the West, far outdo what Hudson put up last year. It's going to be tough to fill Dengak's shoes. I imagine that's like physically and figuratively. But because he put up 11.4 points per game and shot 53%. But I've got those young guys, Jack and Taco. They'll if they're not right there this season, they're both evolving as players and are definitely players to keep around the club. And then apparently Jonah Tuilata just showing up in a car commercial for Hills. So
Yeah.
there we go. They just keep adding
they-
pieces. I mean, it's 4 days until the season starts, and we're still learning things about these rosters.
Yeah, I mean that front court's looking really, really good for them. I think it's a position where they've been a bit thin over the last few years. I mean, especially in the post Brothers scenario, I'd describe it. They haven't those 4 and 5 spots have been a bit of a mixed bag. I mean, they had Chris Bryant for a year, but I think they've made the right choice, bringing a lot of young, promising bigs who will probably hang around for a couple of years, so they can develop them through. Remember, they had Campbell Green as well, who. I think lives in the country now. Asked someone on Saturday, I was like, where's Campbell Green at? Where's the Green Giant? Apparently living rurally now. But again, that's unconfirmed reports. But with Majak, Tuilata, and Taka, I think now it's really starting to cook. Those are some top-notch young talent.
I think the only thing I think we need to see more out of Jacob Foy this year. Shot only 34% from the field. You know, he was 29% from 3-point land. You know, a bit more scoring, even though his assist and rebounding numbers weren't great, but I think we need to see him put the ball in the hole a bit more and just boost that scoring a little bit. I think they probably would have expected more from him scoring last season. That probably was if not a major reason, at least contributed to that, you know, low offensive rating that probably, you know, if that, you know, 7th for defense, if you're 7th in offense, you're probably a good chance at making finals.
Very good. Any final notes on Hills, James, before we start tackling the women's rosters we're most excited for?
Just one more tip in. I got Joaquin Gonzalez from Norths who's gone up to Hills. I think similar situation to Josh Payne. It's like a real logjam at Norths at the moment, which is a good problem to have if you're Norths. But if you're a player who's kind of in those youth league squads trying to get through, it can be a little difficult. So Joaquin Gonzalez is a really solid point guard for North's Youth League last season. Went to the same high school as Fabian Kristelvik and I at St. Aloysius, but he was a lot younger than we are. I'm not too sure if he's off to college at the end of the year, but he's a good point guard. Just so maybe just keep tabs on him. Same with Ben Williams as well from North, has also joined Hills. So there's a few people, heading a little further north for hopefully greener pastures. Or greener hills.
Very good. All right, gents. It has been already a monster of an episode, but we still got some women's teams to get to. Are we ready to keep cracking on?
Let's go. Let's get into it.
All right, let's have a quick roll of the shoulders and let's get into it. And I think it's going to be back to you, Lockie.
Back to me.
Back to you. Arguably, again, one of your favorite teams of NBL1 East are the Manly women. Manly Warringah Seagulls women, similar to the Canberra Gunners, as you were saying before, very good at being able to maintain their core local talent year after year with some additional pieces, it looks like this time.
It certainly does. So, of course, one that finally got over the hill and won the championship. And I'm not a Manly fan. I just like all the Manly players.
Yeah, clear distinction.
But yeah, it started 2-2 last year. People were like, ooh, can they match it with the big ones? And then, 19 wins later, they had a championship. Interesting. Obviously, the two big outs Annie Henderson, Taylor Wirtz, on the face of it, massive holes in the defense, especially. We know what Taylor can do offensively, but Annie Henderson defensively is just, she can defend 1 through 5. I know I get told every time I talk to a Manly person, she can defend 1 through 5, and she can. But she can, especially in this league where we don't always play as tall as we have in some other seasons. And I think initially that was my main concern. Was we all know Manly Warringah, no one's going to take a shift off on defense. They're going to play the scout perfectly. They're going to do everything right. But there comes a point where you just have really, really good defenders, and it doesn't matter how well you play the role if you're just not as good a defender as the player you're replacing. But then they went and signed an import in Jada Jansen, who is a former Great Lakes Valley Conference Defensive Player of the Year. So she played D2 college for a couple of years before going to Toledo in D1 in the MAC, which is the same conference that Alyssa Brett played her college ball in, just for an NBL1 East reference. It's also the same conference that Steph Reed played in at Buffalo. So it's a fairly solid basketball conference. Played down in Mount Gambier last year, so we'll give you Carla Pittman, and you can send Jada Jansen up to the East this year. She shot her threes almost as well as she shot her entire field goal percentage. 36.9% from three-point range and 37.2% overall. As I mentioned with some other players, doesn't shoot a lot of mid-ranges, threes and layups. More threes than anything, though. Much more three-pointers than anything. 84 three-point attempts to 48 around the rim. Chips in 3 or so assists and rebounds last year, and has already put together a Manly gold Insta reel with Sari Mowbray. So she's already in mid-season form there. If you haven't seen it, go look on the it's probably on Manly socials and in NBL1 East socials. So she's a very much looking forward to seeing her slot into the backcourt rotation for the Manly Warringah Sea Eagles. And and then I mean, you've still got Josie, not Josie Bullman anymore, Josie Redan, Alex Delaney, Zoe Miller, Kimberly Dickinson. So as much as she wants to tell us she's a 4, sorry, Honey Badger, you're a 5. You played it last year, you won the championship, you're coming back this year, you're playing the 5. It's just what you are. The only thing I might say is, 2 big pieces out. Are they a little thin? I don't know with Manly. They just seem to, every time they, you think maybe they only run 7 deep this season. They got Mowbray and Jelena coming off the bench. And then the kids in Freya Bykert, Cass Thompson, Liv Johnston, and the Shamrock Shake and Bake Neve Smith. But honestly, most weeks, I think they're going to get it done by enough that it won't matter if they're one piece less than they had in previous years. And yeah, they're obviously going to be around they're going to be in the mix again. They do have to replace 22 points per game that Taylor Wirtz scored last year, and she's just unstoppable. She was, with Lauren Nicholson only playing 4 games, Taylor Wirtz was the second best player in the league behind Nicole Munger last year. That's just obvious. And that's why it was A, such a shock when she signed for Norths, and then B, even more of a shock when she pulled out of Norths. But I still think Manly are going to be just fine. I don't think they're going to reel off a 19-game winning streak again. I think I think it's probably I think it's too much to expect anyway. But I think they'll be definite top 4 chance. And again, right in the mix. Of the 3 teams I've selected to talk about, they're all pretty heavy hitters, and I think they're all going to be there or thereabouts. I'm especially looking forward to Sari Mowbray not pulling double duty with Youth League. Just to be able to play 1 game a weekend. She was their 4th leading scorer last year and just play 1 game, be able to just not have probably 30 minutes in your legs of youth league, depending on the opponent. Just come out and give it a red hot crack every week. Well, she already does that, but now she can do it fresh. And I think that'll be something big for Manly Warringah as well. And Zoe Miller's got a season with the Flames under her belt as well. And she was talking to Caleb about that at the Blitz. Go watch that video. It's also on NBL1 East socials. And I think that'll do her the absolute world of good, just training against WNBL level players every day for the entire season. I expect her to go to another level this year.
Especially her confidence. I mean, there's definitely times where she was always on the cusp of just having a breakout game and something held her back. And I wonder if it was confidence. And now that she, has that WNBL experience, her confidence would be sky high. Added with her already high IQ and her strong discipline in play, I think she's going to be perhaps one of the more go-to scorers in this team.
I certainly think so. I think they're going to. I don't think they'll do all the scoring. You know, they won't try to just turn Jansen into a 20-point scorer like Wirtz was, because it doesn't appear to be her game. But they also have Bree Delaney. They do have one more piece. Bree's coming back. So after, I'll just go to France for a year. That's fine. So Bree's back. So that'll be another help. So that'll help the offense as well. We know she can shoot it for days. I don't know if the defense is going to be quite as good as it was last year, but I think the offense will still hum pretty well. Yeah, and it's still going to be very good defense.
I agree. I think we can expect more of the same high quality from this Manly Warringah Sea Eagles women's team. And like you said, now that Sari's not doing a double shift, hopefully a little bit more extra court time for her too, because she certainly proved herself at NBL1 Nationals, winning player of the game on one occasion. Very excited for them.
Getting a shout out from two Opals legends live on the call.
Yeah, that's right. Tracy Peacock and Michelle Brogan coming to you live. Very impressed with Microwave Mowbray on that game. That was awesome. Icing on the cake. And James, have you got any notes you'd like to add about this Manly team?
Just two things. You do talk about the depth, and I know it feels like this every year almost with Manly, but their youth development is just insane. I reckon it's one of the best women's programs in the country, Manly, to go along with North. Not that I'm biased. I don't know what's going on in South Australia. Sorry, guys. But they develop elite talent after elite talent. I mean, you just need to look at the amount of players they have playing over in college at the moment to see that. And I think two players who really stood out in the Youth League Championship last year was Freya Bykirk. I remember commentating the Youth League Grand Final the year before where they lost to Manly. And Freya kind of I'd never seen her play before. I'm like, who is this? She's like a real gun. And then next year seeing her play in the Grand Final commentated by one of the best in the business, Lockie France. That Grand Final last year, Freya Bykirk was just a whole new beast. She was just gone to an absolute another level. So I think she's going to play a big part in the squad, I think, before she heads off to college. And same with Olivia Johnson as well, who's just an absolute menace in the paint in that Grand Final for Youth League. And again, that front court's maybe a little thin at the moment, but I'd be surprised to see those two players getting some big opportunities. And last one as well, Nate Kerwin is coming off a big off season too, where he led the Manly Masters under 40s team to the championship. And also, I think Nate led the league in scoring in the Masters League, and it's its debut season. So shout out to BNSW for putting that together. But Nate Kerwin still got it, baby. He was the leading scorer on Manly's championship team. So it's too much winning for Nate recently, going from an NBL1 title, helping out with the Youth League title, and going on to a Masters title for Manly. So plenty of banners in the bisque because of him.
Isn't he now also coaching UTS men in UBL this year?
Yeah, so, I mean, more banners to come for Nate. I got to say, he just does a bit of everything. But, yeah, I don't know, maybe Tim Hill will get him to play a few games for the men's side. Who knows?
plus side of getting to coach NBL1 for so many years, whether it's men's or women's, because I remember Nate used to coach the men's team pre NBL1. Plus side of that is that you absorb everything, and then when it's your time to shine, it just all comes out in the court. Still got it, coach. SJ from Love of the Game says on Instagram Live, one of his favourite moments from last season was seeing Lockie smile as Manly won the championship.
Yeah, that was again. It was literally just like, honestly, it was seeing Alex Delaney win a championship. I've known Alex since she was a freshman in college. Yeah, so yeah, that was a big. It wasn't just Alex, but that was a big part of it. Yeah, yeah. Brian came over, put his arm around me. Yeah, big moment. Big day. Yeah. I knew that game was done the minute that corner three from Josie Bullman went in to open the game. I knew it. Your fifth scoring option scores like that on the opening possession of the game, you're not losing from there.
Game over. Yeah. And good shout to Freya Bykirk as well, James, because I think she's heading to Pepperdine for her college career. And that's a pretty reputable basketball school. So yeah, certainly reflecting the talent and potential she has getting signed to a college like that. But we got to roll on. We got to roll on, gents. And we're going back beyond the border. James is taking us now to the Canberra Nationals squad.
Yeah, the Canberra National squad. Wow. I got a feeling this could be Canberra's year where they finally get the monkey off their back. I know the women's program was much improved last season. I think finally made it back into the finals. But I think the best thing they've done is retain talent. Actually, no, the best thing they've done is sign Katie Jones. But one of the best foundations they've laid is by bringing back a lot of talent. But they've really filled in those kind of weaker spots in their roster really well. And I think they could be firing on all cylinders because let's just start with Katie Jones. I think after Lizzie Tonks decided not to come back for a season, there was a bit of a void there at that point guard position. And I think last year it would have been really good just to have an out-and-out point guard because I think that kind of took Callie Bourne away from her natural position, even though she is a good utility player, to doing a little too much ball handling so she can get up and score as much. So to bring in Katie Jones, arguably one of the best point guards in the league. Actually, there's too much disclaimers there. At least one of the top three best point guards in the league. I mean, there's so many good ones out there, but Katie Jones just took the league by storm last year after jumping over from WA to Albury-Wodonga. Wow. Just could really do everything and almost single-handedly helped to turn around that Albury-Wodonga women's program to go along with people like Riley and, of course, Sammy Mack. But a big shout out to Sammy Mack. I'm sure we'll be tuning into this at some point. Yeah, so Katie Jones, a huge pickup for Canberra, turning one of their needs into one of their best positions now. And I'd not be surprised to see her, knocking on the door a little bit for MVP, but definitely a candidate for the star 5 position, especially with all the players she has around her who she can be setting up. So perfect start to the offseason for Canberra was going out and getting Katie Jones. I think you guys made the connection last week about just saying, hey guys, I'm already in Canberra, WNBL. If you need me, I'm already set up here. Already moved all my stuff into my house. If you need me for the WNBL responsibilities, I'm ready to go with the Capitals. So would love to see Katie Jones maybe use this to parlay, use this season to parlay into a full-on contract in the WNBL. But either way, she's going to have a lot of fun down in Canberra. And I know a lot of other teams are going after her. I can't say who, but pretty much like so many other teams are trying to get her signature. So I think Nat Hurst taking over. Oh, sorry. This could be Nat Hurst's second year. I'm sorry, I can't quite remember. Oh, no, yes, this is Nat Hurst's first year back coaching, at least on a NBL1 level. I think that really helped to recruit in Katie Jones. Also, the backup point guard, just a quick shout out to Emily Sampson, who I think was one of the top 5 scorers for their in Waratah League last season for Canberra Academy. So for Canberra Waratah women. So yeah, she might be looking for more minutes this year. Has been part of the Canberra program for a while. But I'm moving in to, I kind of just got the wings and guards here. Callie Bourne, another huge re-signing for them. The Bourne Identity, the Bourne Ultimatum. I don't know what the third Bourne movie is, but it's season 3 for Callie Bourne.
It's the Bourne Supremacy, which is the most important one when you're talking about Callie.
Okay, because I haven't seen any of the Bourne movies.
Me neither, actually.
But yeah, the Bourne Supremacy. So we're in for the Bourne Supremacy. So the best season so far, and I think we will get the best season yet from Callie Bourne. Last year, I think really held this squad together. Her and Carly almost single-handedly lifted this side in so many games to elevate them to victories. And Callie really is a do-it-all kind of player and a really good leader of the squad as well, which I think is very underrated. A hyper athlete, can get after it defensively, rebounding, shooting, playmaking. She's really a jack of all trades and a master of all those trades as well. And so see her combination with Katie Jones is going to be interesting. But two dynamic, versatile, and tall players on your perimeter, I think you really bank on. Jazz Butsos, bang bang Butsos. I think she'll really round out, not so much maybe the starting lineup, maybe coming off the bench, but she's some much needed floor spacing for this side. Same with Zara Fennell as well. I think was with COE the last few years and really proved herself in that program. So yeah, not moving too far. I think it was originally a Canberra junior anyway, so moving to COE wasn't that much of a transition for her. But to have all those, a couple seasons under her belt with the Centre of Excellence, I think she'll probably start with this team, Zara Fennell. So another great shooter, another tall wing, a lot of height on this team. So they're going to be able to play a very versatile brand of basketball, this Canberra side. Moving into the bigs is maybe a little concern here in terms of they don't really, as far as I can see, outside of Sky Reese, who we'll just get to in a second, they don't really have an out-and-out center, but they definitely have some capable bigs. Carly McAllister, after successfully returning to Canberra last season, is back for another one. She's just 20 points, 10 rebounds, just waiting to happen. I think from watching a few of those Canberra games last season, managed to catch, I think, two or three live. When the offense was kind of breaking down, they could just throw it to Carly McAllister and get a bucket. And I think that's really useful to have. She's a player with such vast experience, including over the WNBL back in the day as well. And to have not just that leadership, but that ability and that know-how just to get a team out of a rut, I think she can really, really bring the side together. But with the other players joining in, like Zara and Katie, I just don't think her scoring load's going to be as much. But I think that's going to work great for Carly McAllister because I think she's going to need to do a little more dirty work this season in terms of rebounding and defense as well. So a bit of the offensive load taken off, but I think a little more defensive responsibility this year, but still a player you love to have and keeping that continuity from last season. Elise Finney as well, back up. I think she should play back up this year, but is coming along leaps and bounds every season. I've seen Elise Finney has been part of the Canberra program, NBL1 program for the last few years, but a really solid big. And I think this season is due for a lot more minutes. Elise Finney, can't wait to see how much her game's improved after another off season. So the two other new signings in the front court, I did mention before, Sky Reese, from what I can tell, has a vast amount of experience. Sky Reese is a center and has mainly been playing in NBL1 North or the QBL before that. I paid for Australian Basket, that site, the one with I forked out. I bought myself a Christmas present and got a membership to that. So you can actually see here, has been playing QBL for a long time. First with the Brisbane Capital, shout out to Squin and the Caps. In 2015, played for Logan, Southwest, Mackay, Darwin Salties back in 23, 24 when they still had a program. But last year was playing with the Pakenham Warriors in Big V and was averaging 12 points, 7 rebounds. So it seems like a really solid kind of basket-to-basket big. But looking at the rest of the lineup for Canberra, I think that's exactly what the doctor ordered. They don't really need much more scoring. They don't need much more playmaking. I think they just need a big who can finish off pick and rolls, finish down low, and do the dirty work on defense as well. And the other signing, and last player I'd like to talk about, is Alison Day as well. Seems like a dynamic stretch four, who also has a very impressive resume. Is I think originally from the US. And of course, I'm going off basket here. This is a great website. So if anyone needs my passwords and logins, especially commentators out there, it is great. But from Winchester, Ohio. But I did know it off the top of my head. No, just kidding. Went to college at Loyola University in Chicago, where she hovered around averaging 10 points to 12 points. Also finished her career off at Bowling Green State University before moving out to Australia, and in 2023 playing with Diamond Valley Eagles. And then spent a bit of time in the UK, came back, played for Diamond Valley again in NBL1 in 2024. And I think was playing in Germany last season. But I might actually throw to Lockie here. Was Alison playing in the game that you watched with Canberra Comets or no?
The Canberra Comets, the cricket team.
No, sorry, Canberra v Comets, yes.
She did play a bit. No one played huge minutes, if I'm being entirely honest with you, but I think your description of a stretch four is probably pretty good. She'd bring the ball up a couple of times. Like, she looked comfortable dribbling the ball up. I mean, Canberra, they had everyone, but a lot of the time, like, I was admittedly discussing commentary with one of my new co-commentators at Comets this season, so we weren't fully invested in the game. But a lot of the time they had Samson and Ilyana Matejevic out on the court, and some of the youngsters like Georgia Lange, who's come over from Queanbeyan. So probably didn't get a whole lot out of that game, just because they didn't need to run. I don't think they were going to get a lot out of playing their full roster against that Comets team that was, pretty threadbare, to be honest. Like, Michaela Perini wasn't even there for Comets, so
yeah. But interesting to see though that a lot of those kind of younger players and players who maybe towards the end of the bench for Canberra last season getting a run in the preseason. But just from what I can tell from looking at this roster as a whole, I think they're going to play relatively positionless. They're going to play, I think, quite up tempo as well, especially with Katie and Callie. I tell you what, they're going to get out and run. Zara as well, got those young legs, is going to really get out and gallop on the fast break. So get ready to see a bit of a different style in Canberra. I know over the last few years, I've noticed they did play relatively slow, but I reckon they're going to get out, run and gun this season. And I think it'd be a real dark horse team. I think they'll definitely be in the finals. Whereabouts they're on the table, we'll see. But I think they've pretty much had the perfect off-season. But yeah, I think we'd love to see a centre. So I don't know if anyone's still got Izzy Bourne's number or Mia Slater. If they want to come back, they would be perfect in the squad. But my guess is they're off with other clubs at the moment. But yeah, I think just missing a big, but every other position is looking elite.
Well, Mia Slater's at college until May, because she's at Gannon University. They could get Maddie Wheatley, who just graduated from Gannon University as a program legend. But
she's also a Canberra native. I think Izzy Bourne's currently playing somewhere in Europe as well, so I'm not sure if she's going to finish up there and then go back to Keilor, because Keilor, they got a good thing going on down at Keilor. Good checkbook. Harrow are back as the head coach as well. But yeah, I think between Katie, Callie, Carly, great big three. Big three. And I will also say that last episode, and perhaps even episodes last season, Lockie and I were always pondering, what does Katie Jones have to do to get a WNBL contract? It turns out she just needs to not commit to an overseas contract too early, or perhaps a contract that can be bought out by a WNBL club. So it just came down to conflicting commitments this time round. But now that she's in the nation's capital, she's under Natty. Natty's still linked with the UC Canberra Caps with Gorry. I think we can start to pre-order Katie
when I was in Europe.
But that's what you got to do when you're this time covering the Sutherland Sharks women, as someone that you are hotly anticipating for the 2026 NBL1 East season.
Yeah, and thankfully Sutherland actually announced Lauren Nicholson before we went live. We did it this morning, because it'd be very, very different trying to explain the Sharkies knowing that Lauren Nicholson was going to play, but her not being officially announced. Yes, the Sutherland Sharks last season finished a paltry, by their own standards, 8-12. And look, you can say, oh, we only had Lauren Nicholson for 4 games, and the team won't be making that excuse, but you can look at it and say, oh, if they had her for more games, they would have won more games. Nicholson's obviously back in the roster. Saw Eliza Fabro play, was suited up at the Blitz. Congratulations to Eliza and Hutch once again on their engagement. But obviously, the 2 big signings, grabbing team MVPs from both of their major rivals, getting Abby Curtin from Comets, and you might want to sit down for this one, Ella Dent leaving Illawarra for Sutherland. She walked in at the Blitz. She walked in at the Blitz in Sharks kit and said, I still don't believe it. I like it, but I still don't believe it. Mm-hmm. It was like she torched Sutherland in the Anzac Day game last year, won the Anzac medal. Now she has to go down to Illawarra on Anzac Day as a Sutherland player. So I imagine that it's actually there's a bit of work, like Sutherland, their new head coach, Michael Turton, your boy, Squin.
Respect for Turt.
He's got a few options, because if you look at their top 7, Fabro, Dent, Nicholson, Curtin, Maddie Norris, Emily Garland, and Liv Douglas. And apart from Liv Douglas pretty much cementing the 5 spot when she plays, there's a lot of versatility in there in how they might want to play. Do you want to go with Fabro and Dent and Nicholson at the 3, and then is it Curtin or Norris? Is it Garland? When's Garland in? What position does she go? There's just so many different options in the way they can play, and they're all really good players. Like, I think Emily Garland is highly, highly underrated. When she gets on she's probably a bit streaky as a shooter, but she has 30-point games in this league. Mm-hmm. And when she gets under the basket in a matchup she likes, she can cook people. So I think that's really big for them. The one thing they are just not putting the ball in the basket as well as they probably could have last year at times. But I think Sutherland, it's revenge season for the Sharkies. They've gone out, they've found really good players. They weren't great at rebounding last year. Sutherland have never been great at rebounding, I don't think. So going out and getting someone like Abby Curtin really shores that up. Her numbers last year, 10.7 rebounds per game, if you don't mind. So that'll be massive. And I think Abby will benefit from not having to have such a massive load at both ends, which he really had to do at Comets last year. She 20, the best part of 24 points and 11 rebounds that's massive for a team that is, even struggling to make finals. Like, she really put that team on her back last year. So really looking forward to her being able to just not take a step back, but not feel like she's got so much pressure because she has so many other options. And look, any team that's got Lauren, I say it every year, as long as the Sharkies make the finals, if Lauren Nicholson's in the lineup come the end of the season, they're a chance to win it. And Squin, we were talking about this offline. I think there's a lot to be said for players like Nicholson, like Munga, like Talia Tupaya, who can put the ball under their wing, get to the rack, and finish with physicality. And you said it, Squin, that the centers, the long players, that they don't get the reward of being physical. It's hard for them to draw fouls sometimes in this league. I think Unique was one of your examples, which is very true. And I'm sure Sammy Mack will back you up on that one. But there's a lot to be said for these players. Like, I think Nicholson, went to the free throw line 50% as many free throws as she had field goal attempts in 4 games. Talia, we mentioned 60%. So these players that really get their head down, beat the defender with the first step, don't commit offensive fouls, commit charges. There's a lot to be said for having one of those in your lineup. So Sharkies, well, this lineup, they have to want a top 4 spot. It's just how it is. Sorry.
So me now thinking as well, Michael Turton, I grew up knowing him as a New South Wales Metro State coach. But now I know that I'm pretty sure he's based in Wollongong. I know that he's got twin boys that have been playing reps for Illawarra. So I wonder if he was a big drawing card for Ella Dent to make the move.
I had that thought. I haven't actually been able to talk to Michael. Obviously, I'll see him on Saturday. But it's definitely an interesting angle. I'm sure he'd have the connection. But we'll just run through the rest of the roster. Mel Andre Eunice there keeps coming back. She'll provide plenty of defensive punch. Young Geordie Dewhurst, I think she is now out of youth league as well. So Sari Mowbray will not have to pull double duty. Ash Waller comes back. Evie Gooding elevated to the NBL1 team. And then the 2 big names, Jackie Piper, Lauren's sister, back for another go round. And then this surname may be familiar, Hayley Carter. Yeah, that's BJ's daughter.
Oh.
No, I'm old, but I'm not old enough yet to see BJ Carter's daughter in NBL1. No, thank you. Good night. That is it for me.
Yeah. So yes. So she well, it wasn't her mum also captained the Sharks as well in the 2000s, but she'll be pulling double duty. They actually did a pretty good little write-up about her. So a 2-3. Yeah, obviously mum and dad both played for the Sharks legends. I think BJ, Kings 3-peat, Sharkies 3-peat as well. I mean, how many players can say that? So yeah, don't know, how much playing time she'll get. Obviously it's her first season out of 18s, but really looking forward to see how she progresses over the next few years. Especially because Maddie Carey filled that youngster spot almost in the roster, but she's now off at college. And well, she could come back and play as well, which would be nice to see because she is killing it over there. But yeah, really good first 7 or 8, or first 7, and then the bench can still definitely produce.
Good stuff for the Sharkies. Yeah, I think they're definitely up for a redemption season this year. They had all the pieces, like you said, in 2025, but just the pieces couldn't really fit together. So, yeah, I think definitely redemption season. Any final notes, James, before we throw back to you for our next team?
I was just I think Lockie really covered it all. No surprise. But just one thing, I think Maddie Norris, I reckon, she's already such an elite player in this league, but I reckon she could go next level this year. I reckon just with that year of Flames under her belt, and I think as well with a lot of other players kind of taking a lot of attention away from her on offense, I'm really surprised to see her getting 3, 4, 5 threes a game. I think she's going to come back with on a totally new level. And I don't know. I was going to do hot take and say maybe she'd be a star 5 player. I mean, it will be hard because this team is quite stacked, so there's going to be a lot of other scorers. But I just don't underestimate the impact of, even if you're not playing that much a year in a pro system like the WNBL. I think the same will be with Zoe Miller. What it does for a player's confidence. We saw it with Carla Pittman previously, Caitlin Martin as well. When they come back from even just being around the Flames program, they come back on just a whole new level because they spend the whole summer playing at the top flight. So it wouldn't be surprised to see Maddie Norris have a huge year. And yeah, I can't wait to see it. I mean, just looking at this starting 5, I'm really keen. I'll see it at the Shark Tank, guys. Come on. Some of the best canteen and best food truck in New South Wales, in my opinion.
We don't have a food truck anymore, mate.
No. Oh, okay, maybe I don't know. Maybe I'll do one.
There's a third headset.
Oh, okay.
At Comets, we have 5 headsets. We can't fit them all in the mixer, but we've got them.
That sounds like a band more than a commentary table. I'm happy. Look, I'm happy to grab a third headset and just be on drums if that helps. But yeah, I'll tell you what, I'd love to go down to the Shark Tank. I think Spiders are playing down at the Shark Tank this year, so maybe see you there. But this is going to be a really exciting lineup. But I think Michael Turton's got a hard task trying to get all these band members to sing from the same sheet because there's a lot of talent here.
Nah, Turton's old school. He'll get everyone in line. He'll establish everyone's roles very clearly, very early. And if you deviate from that, he will politely tell you what you need to change.
Also, did previously coach at St. Aloysius College as well for third shout out of the night. There you go. Sorry, my private school showing. But anyway.
Yeah, my dad went to Newington, so.
Yeah.
I did not.
All
right. Too many flexes on here. This isn't a gym yard, Lockie. All right, very, very good for the Sutherland Sharks. And yeah, James, you're back on the soapbox telling us more about the Bankstown Bruins women.
The Bankstown Bruins. Now, sorry to Bankstown, I did have a big script written up to do a preview show about both the men's and women's this season, but they just kept on adding players, so I had to keep on fixing the script, and eventually I just moved on to other clubs. But wow, their lineup is not just stacked. I know I've said that about a lot of teams, but it's very deep as well. We'll get into some of the players later, but a lot of that youth league talent and a lot of talent that went to other clubs is now coming back. There also seem to be poaching a lot of youth talent from other clubs, but at the top end now, shout out to Lauren Curtin. She's done a great job recruiting, but also keeping an eye on that youth talent. But it seems like if last year was the trust the process year about, trying to give these young guns a bit more of a run, I think the process is almost over already. I mean, this lineup is good to go, starting with Tyler Tapea, signing with the Bankstown Bruins. In fact, might I say returning to the Bankstown Bruins. And I'm sure the Bruins fans will remember last season she was with Bankstown. She averaged 29 points. That's 29. I'm bad at maths, but I know that's a pretty high number. 8 rebounds and 5 assists. That was in the 2021 season, so it was a little shortened season. I don't know what was going on in the world at that time in 2021. I've already forgotten. But Talia, this is a return of sorts to Bankstown. Of course, she has been a long-time Panther and just a plethora of experience in the WNBL, mainly with the Caps and with the Flames. But we all know what she can do. And last year, she was just a beast. That two-player show with Christina Mora, the Inner West Bulls, was almost enough to lift them into the finals. And Talia and Christina were just on fire. But it looks like I really doubt Charlotte Hill is going to come back this season. But I think the thing that is good with the like-for-like kind of replacement there is this system's already set up to be around a star point guard. So I think you don't really have to change your offensive sets, how you play defensively that much if you're slotting Talia into the fold there. And also, outside of her resume, her stats, her numbers, I think she's going to provide some really good leadership for what is a very young squad. And sorry if I say this is a young squad a lot, because I mean it really is. But a player who isn't particularly young, who is coming back in a way. I know you talked about this on the last podcast. Davida Dale, former Defensive Player of the Year with the Sydney Comets, averaged, I think, was it 15, 20, 50, 60, 100 steals a game with Sydney Comets. My numbers could be wrong, as they were with Mason Peatling earlier. He had 150 games. I just checked that off in the break. Sorry, I got the number wrong. I added seasons in twice. But yeah, just correct that one for the record if I do get sued for it. But yeah, Davida Dale was just a steals monster offensively as well, was contributing so much with the Sydney Comets. So I think she's going to not just add a defensive edge, but also be one of the leading scorers on this Bankstown Bruins team. Last was playing, I think, in Manchester, in England. And I think we'll play the 2 or the 3. But looking up and down at this lineup, they can really lock in defensively, which I think has been a problem in the first few years of the Bruins program in the East. They had a few scorers here and there, but defensively they were leaking a lot. Last year under Lauren Curtin, they started to really build up a bit of a defensive identity. But I think with Tyler and Davida, that's a really oversized backcourt, and we haven't even got into the front court yet. Lily Austin as well, a player who was particularly impressive last season, returning. I think unfortunately had to play a bit too much point guard. I think maybe that's not her preferred position. I could be wrong, but I really would like to see Lily Austin play a little more off ball, and I think they'll be able to do that with Talia in the side now. A young gun coming up through that Bankstown system who could easily be starting at a lot of these games. I'm just going to rattle off a few names here because they have announced quite an extensive lineup, and I think you're right in the last episode to shout out to the Bankstown social media team because they pretty much had their team announced before New Year's, which really helps creators because you're like, all right, well, you're going to announce your lineup. I guess I'll make a video about you. So Tara Calvitas and Sienna Ali. Tara's come back from the Bulls. So really good to see Tara back with Bankstown and Sienna Ali. The UTS teammates, actually. So there you go. Quick shout out to Sienna Ali, an underrated player. I always say, mark my words on her. She is a D-dog and one of the best mid-rangers in the business. So those two young guns to go with as well. Talia Bywater. They've got a lot of young players there that can fill in those guards positions. So moving into the wings, the Dunlop sisters, Rachel Dunlop, kind of more of 3 over 4. I think we're still yet to see the best out of her. I think every season she's had to play a different position, but I think defining her role will really help her go to the next level. Rachel Dunlop, and I got to say, like, I think she should be starting. We'll see. But I really think we'll go to the next level this season. Same with Jane Dunlop as well. There was a few games last season where she just caught fire from 3 and was unstoppable. But especially defensively, Jane Dunlop, long wingspan, hyper athletic, super agile, can cause a lot of nuisance on the defensive end. And would like to see them run a few more sets for her maybe to get her open on the 3-point line. Zena Albero, a player who people might remember who played for Spiders last year. But maybe people weren't watching Spiders much. But hey, watching Zana, she was more towards the end of the rotation, but she's another Bankstown junior who's coming back. And joining her as well, Jen Tatchian is a Spiders player who is also joined Bankstown Bruins. So again, plenty of depth on this team. Moving in the front court, a player who I think really will step up this season, I think has really defined themselves, is Kiana Davis-White. Now, I think with Davida, Talia, and Lily Austin in this team, she'll finally be able to just like get into position and play power forward a little more, play small forward a little bit. She can really play inside and outside, but she is a player who's really strong. And when she's playing off the perimeter, she can just get that first step in and kind of bully her way to the basket, can spot up for threes. But would like to see her play a little more inside outside as opposed to having catching the ball so far outside the paint. So Kiana Davis-White, I think, is due for a huge season as well. But getting into the the other import that we might not be familiar with in NBL1, but if you've been following French basketball for the last decade, which I know we all have, is Margot de Fritters. Now, I had to dig around a bit for a bit of information on her, but she's been playing for Toulouse. My French isn't that great. But either way, they're in the 2nd division in French basketball. And she's been playing in their top team since 2016. So very experienced and a bit of a strange connection. So if anyone from Bankstown can give us the heads up on how they got Margot to come out and play, please hit us up. But I think she will be a perfect fit. We're talking about the guard depth, we're talking about the forwards, the versatility before. It looks like Margot is a bit of an out-and-out big, so that really fills in the void in the middle. I mean, last year with Jada Rice, she was an absolute force. Kind of sad to see her not coming back, but I'm sure maybe she's pursuing another professional opportunity. But I think Margot will fill in that void in the middle. And I think she's going to do okay. Again, been playing at the top flight since 2016. In her last season with Toulouse, she averaged 8 points, 6 rebounds, and a block per game as well. Well, 74% from the 3-point line, so not too bad. But all throughout her career, she's been hovering around those numbers. So seems like an import who may just be a really solid role player. You never know. Her game might convert really well, and she might end up being a kind of double-double kind of player, but definitely someone to fill in that starting lineup. And I think we'll start at the 5, as well as a younger Nadia Kuzo, who previously has had experience with New South Wales. I think I'm not too sure which age group it was, but she'll probably be the other big, as well as Leilani Fulemu. Power forward is going to back up as well. Sorry if I just listed off a whole bunch of names, the big bingo card, but Bankstown, noticing the men's and women's announced very big squads. So I'm not too sure who's going to fit into Youth League, who's going to fit into the NBL1 squad. But one thing I do know about the Bankstown women's team is they're very deep. And I think that's something they maybe struggled with in their first few years in NBL1 East. But I think a starting lineup of Talia, Davida, either of the Dunlops, Kiana Davis-White and Margot de Fritters, that's very solid. And especially defensively, that's going to be a very dangerous lineup. So I think Bankstown are ready to go to the next level. I really think they are this season. I know I've said that a lot with a lot of those players, but I think a lot of them got thrown in the deep end last year and the year before. But I think it's about time that the crops that they planted a couple of years ago are ready to be harvested. And I think backing their young talent is paying off in the long term, and joined by import veterans and even Australian veterans like Talia. So, yeah, it's going to be an interesting time at Bankstown.
Going to be going off at the Bruins home court is the Hideout.
No, that's the Bandits. It's the Bruins lair.
It's the lair. I should know it's the Bears lair. I've had that image and that signage in my brain from when I used to have ITC camps there many moons ago, so I should know the Bears lair.
Yeah, it really will be. It's going to be an exciting season, but yeah, it's going to be tough to see how they fit into the whole finals race and to the ladder. I think after maybe the first 5 to 10 games, we'll have a pretty good idea. But I reckon Lauren Curtin's going to get him playing a good brand of basketball, and that's a coach that I think everyone around BNSW, around the New South Wales community, has a lot of good things to say about. So if anyone can get this team to work well together, it'll be Lauren Curtin.
Yeah, she's a great role model for especially a lot of young female players, and she's been coaching at a high level for a really long time. So she's going to certainly set a really good culture for that team. She's going to be very fair, but she's going to be very supportive and encouraging. I think she's a coach where she'll be able to develop some of those younger athletes really well and then be able to maintain a core group for a really long time. I think she's going to be really the start of something sustainable for Bankstown Bruins in terms of their talent and their level of competitiveness over the next couple of years. So it's great that she's there, and I hope that she's there as long as she wants to be there.
Yeah, and just one player, I'm not too sure. I may have just missed the name, but is Sienna Tutani. I'm not too sure if she's back this season, but I got big raps on her. And a lot of the Bankstown players, when you ask them who's like the hardest working player who maybe doesn't get enough attention, they would say Sienna Tutani. But I may have missed it, but I haven't seen her name pop up. I could be wrong.
I haven't either.
Yeah, I really liked her last season. Lockdown defender. She has great potential. So hopefully she's coming back, or hopefully she's okay. If she's not deciding to come back, that's also okay if she's having a rest. But yeah, I haven't seen her name out there either.
Sorry. I screwed this up. How can I also miss as well? I was just waiting for the last little bonus round, which is Kayla Proctor as well. Wow. So I'm so sorry I missed her. Because as I said, the list is very, very long, but no excuses for missing Kayla Proctor. Really balled out recently at the under-20s championships as well, Kayla Proctor. There's been a lot of media coverage about her because of her famous brother, but hey, we're NBL1 East fans, so keeping more of an eye on Bankstown than I am on the Cleveland Cavaliers at the moment. But Kayla Proctor is like one of those prototypical modern point guards in the same ilk as your Jessie May Halls and your Ruby Perkins, which is a bit of a preview for later. But yeah, Kayla Proctor is lightning quick. I know she's been putting in a lot of work with breakdown basketball and Nay out there on a jump shot. And I think she could be really, really special. Another one of those players who I think get in while it's still free to watch them play. because Caleb Proctor is going to be going places. And looks like they don't have a lot of out-and-out point guards, so I wouldn't be surprised to see her get big minutes because she had some big games and a big impact last season with the NBL1 squad. And I'm not too sure how old she is, but I think she'd be like 17 or 18, but seriously plays fearlessly. So Caleb Proctor's going to be another one to watch.
Yeah, she has some NBA Academy experience under her belt as well. I'm pretty sure she took some time away to attend one of those camps overseas. But yeah, Bankstown Bruins, it's one of those teams, whether it's the men's, I should say clubs, one of those, it's either the men's or women's team that you just want to really get behind. There's something about them where they always feel a little bit like the underdog, and you can see that they're doing so many things right on and off the court. Like we always talk about their social media team, even very prompt with their announcements. They're always doing stuff right, so you really root for them, and certainly hope that they make the finals this time.
And of course, the stacked commentary lineup with Caleb and SJ as well. So, man, they run deep on the court and off the court at Bankstown. I tell you what,
What's not to like?
Yeah, it's a hub of talent.
I think they're going to have to, if they don't already, they're going to have to get a portable grandstand on the same side where Caleb and SJ commentate to really pack the rafters, because I think they're just going to garner such a bigger crowd this season. They're going to have to bring in that grandstand. So good stuff from Bankstown. We love to see it. And then we've got 2 teams to go, guys. Lockie, this is your last team to feature, and it is your beloved North Bears from...
Is there any team that I don't love?
No, there is not. There is not. There's always a reason to love all of the teams.
Yeah, okay. But okay, North, yeah, okay, North were my like, well, actually North and, well, it was North and Hornsby, and then half the Hornsby team moved to North in the old Waratah League days. So, yes, North have a long history with the Bears. And, well, last season, when we got to preliminary final weekend, I think everyone and their mother was saying, all right, North Manly Grand Final, here we go. And then they lost to Centre of Excellence, which wasn't very good. So they finished 17-3 in the regular season last year, top offensive rating in the league, 4 points clear of Manly per 100 possessions, and third best defensive rating in the league, which actually gave them, they were the top net rating team in the league, despite the fact they finished one win behind Manly. But when the top teams are beating up so hard on some other teams, it does skew the numbers a bit. But we move on. Of course, we've mentioned already Carla Pittman's off to Mount Gambier this year, taking 17 points and 9.9 rebounds and 5.7 assists per game with her. James's club has stolen Ruby Perkins away. The Shaq Shora connection has led Ruby Perkins up the Pacific Highway to the Brick Pit. And, Ruby didn't start. I don't know if she started any games last year. If she did, it wasn't very many. But she was actually pretty high up there on their scoring. So, yeah, Ruby didn't start a game, but she averaged 13.8 points per game in 24 and a bit minutes. So she was filling it up last year. So to lose her is more of a hole than it appears, particularly in light of Pittman leaving as well. And to be honest, when I saw this roster come out, I was like, all right, it's looking the same. Where's Maddie O'Hare? They got Jazz Simmons, but they've lost Carla Pittman, Ruby Perkins, Jolene Anderson retired, Jess Bygate retired. But it wasn't quite there for me. It was maybe 4th or 5th, some of these younger players like Peggy Shell, Emma Donnelly, they'll have increased roles, and then Izzy Morgan and Caitlin Martin will be fine in the backcourt. But I really wanted them to have something more. And then they went and signed Taylor Wirtz. And then they didn't sign Taylor Wirtz because a couple of weeks later, they pulled the pin on that, Taylor's availability. So what did they do instead? Well, we don't know if it was instead, but what did they announce next? Oh, yeah, we've signed Jasmine Shelley, the NBL1 South MVP, Opal, all Big Ten first team, Nebraska legend, WNBL player. And then you're just
Opal.
like, all right.
Did you say Opal?
I did say Opal. Yeah. Asian Cup medalist.
World
yeah.
Cup medalist.
And then, yeah, that just immediately put them straight back into, well, if they were already in finals contention, but back to like minor premiership contention, top 2, top 3. Her shooting stats were down a bit in the WNBL this season. I think that was sub 30%, but not really that concerned about that with what Jazz can do. So she's had her struggles playing the 1, but I think she's got past those now largely. I mean, when I say struggles, this was mostly in college rather than playing an Australian brand of basketball. So largely past any problems there. And down playing in NBL1 South last year, shot the 3 ball at 35%. So as part of shooting, 42% overall, goaled up 7.5 rebounds per game, dished 6 assists per game. So, she is coming in. She is going to be absolutely mammoth. And you remember she's doing that in NBL1 South. And we know we like to say, don't sleep on the East. The East is on the come up. Here's the homecoming. But the black fact is, our East champ got towed by the South champ. And the South champ only Geelong beat everyone in the South except Knox. So Jazz Shelley was on a very good team playing in a very good league. So she is going to go absolutely nuclear here, I reckon. She's going to be so good. We'll just shoot the 3 ball for fun. She's got Martin and Morgan there in the backcourt. Whatever combination Renee Garlop sees as fit, I think is going to work just fine. And then whether this is to replace Wirtz, whether this is already in the pipeline, who knows? Doesn't matter. They went out and got Talia Brugler, 3rd leading scorer all time at St. Joseph's University in Philadelphia, which plays in the A10, which, as I mentioned, is the same conference that Davidson play in, and a lot of other very good teams. Richmond, who Nebraska played in the first round of the NCAA tournament, that's their conference. So she's also got the 6th best field goal percentage all time for St. Joseph's, and she just puts the ball in the basket from close range. 17 points and 6 rebounds in 35 minutes a game over in Greece this season, playing for PAS Giannina, which I think is even better numbers than Christina Moore was putting up in Greece this season. So there's it could be a lazy comparison because they play for different clubs, but it's the comparison we've got. Plays 3x3, won a World Uni Games bronze medal 3x3, so she's probably pretty good defending one-on-one because you don't get a lot of help D in 3x3. And the best part is she gets deep in the paint to shoot. She's not flinging it up from 12 and 14 feet and saying, oh, yeah, I got in the paint. She is properly in the paint. So I'm very looking forward to that because I don't think on that roster, they've called up Lulu Hastings. They got Maddie Dalmeida for a bit of, some height, but they don't have that experienced, forward to go hard in the paint for big minutes per game. And then I think we also really have to mention with Maddie O'Hare out, is Jazz Simmons going to take over that kind of role just with less 3-point shooting? I think Shelley, but the thing is with Shelley now in the roster, the fact that Maddie O'Hare was the top 3-point shooter for Norse last year doesn't really matter as much. So Jazz Simmons can be the one to get downhill, get out and running. I think in Jazz Simmons' last NBL1 season, she was 0 of 0 from 3-point range. So she was just getting downhill, or getting out and running the floor, which we've watched her do since, she won an under-17s World Cup gold medal in 2016, so alongside Jazz Shelley. So, we've been watching her do that forever. Just hyper athletic. Get to the rack. One of my absolute favorites of all time. New South Wales country product as well. From Goal down there on the banks of the Murray, fortunately on the north side. But also worth remembering, she is coming off a season out. So will it take her a few games to get her feet under her? Because she was meant to play for Central Coast last season, but unfortunately that fell by the wayside. And I think Norths are a good team for her to join because they actually were really high. I think they were top of the league in fast break points, both in total number and the percentage of their scoring last season. So, and you're not going to sign Jasmine Simmons if you don't plan on using her to run. Like, you just wouldn't do it. So I think we can very much trust Renee there. And honestly, with this roster, I mean, we might wait a couple of weeks to do our full predictions to see if there's any last-minute signings. But, geez, you'd be a brave man to bet against them at this stage, which we're not allowed to do because we all signed our terms and conditions.
Yeah, I don't have enough money to bet. I lost $20 in my bank accounts. It's gonna beans and tin fish.
To go with what's on the shelf already.
Yeah, that's all I got left.
But
you don't have budget for rice. It's just beans and tin fish. No rice.
Yeah, that's all we got.
But I mean, they still got Emma Donnelly coming back, Peggy Shell, Holly Wills, and Rebecca Donnelly. So if they need another 3-point shooter, Rebecca Donnelly, there is one. She can shoot it for days. I mean, Youth League finals last year, she was just ridiculous at times. That big three of, one's now at Hornsby and Lola, but between Donnelly, Hastings and Grolton last year, that North's big three was electric in Youth League. And it's good to see that they've all been officially, I think Hastings was technically in the North's NBL1 squad last year, but good to see all three of them have now been officially elevated to the NBL1 roster, either at North or Hornsby. But yeah, Norths, I'm really high on them. You've got to always be high on Norths, but I think particularly this year with Shelley and Brugler in and Simmons. I was kind of wondering what's going on with Maddie O'Hare. I mean, she's officially not announced anywhere. So, if you want to make a last minute announcement, North, I wouldn't be against it.
Yeah, my bet would be I don't think he's coming back. That's not any insider intel or anything. I just think, I mean, if Maddie O'Hare's coming back, could be one of the first people you announce for a signing. But he does represent definitely the end of that kind of golden generation, or the old firm as we used to call it in commentary for Norths. With your C-Bombs, your Shickers, your O'Hares, M. Simons, these kind of players. I think that era's unfortunately come to an end, but I mean, Norths have just rejuvenated and they could be even bigger and better than ever.
Yeah.
Scary.
That's and that is the thing with these clubs like Norths and Manly you mentioned before is, if you remember when Manly won the Waratah League title and they, it was Belinda Snell, Kristen Forbes, Candice Trevena. It was these players are not I haven't seen them play for Manly before very often. Rebecca Duke was there. I was and now it's all Manly, it's all Manly players, juniors, most of them. Or, I mean, the Delaney's are very much entrenched in the Manly community, even though they're not from there originally, but it's very Manly based.
Awesome. So the lucky last team that we're hotly anticipating for the NBL1 East 2026 season is another team on the women's competition we need to be getting high on. It's the Hornsby Ku-ring-gai Spiders. James, this roster is on fire.
Yeah.
I know, jeez. Yeah, wow. No bias in picking this one, but anyone can tell you that this Hornsby Ku-ring-gai side is it's just ridiculous. And I think actually before I get to the roster, I will start with the coaching staff. I think going out and getting Shaq Shaw to return to Hornsby Ku-ring-gai. Of course, he was originally a youth league player at Hornsby. Just a fun story I had from that. Shaq actually met his current wife playing youth league at Hornsby, which is just, all the dreams come true at the Brick Pit. What can I say? But to bring Shaq back, who again met his wife, played youth league, coached junior reps at Hornsby Ku-ring-gai. He went over to Norths for a couple seasons, had some great success learning under Renee Garlop. I mean, you could get no better mentor in the coaching ranks, really. And then to win a youth league title there, go 11-11 in the NBL1 games where Renee wasn't available, and then to come back to Hornsby. I think that was actually the first domino to fall in what's been a huge off-season for the Spiders. And I think Shaq not only did he recruit really well, I just think on court, he's just a really great coach, and off the court as well. I think he's a great personnel manager. So personnel manager sounds so professional way of putting it. He's just a good guy, and people want to play for him. None of that HR talk here, but yeah. And obviously the first player he brought with him was Ruby Perkins, which is just, it's a huge one. I mean, the Spiders, not to say they really needed any more guards, but Ruby Perkins has got to be one of the best young talents in Aussie basketball at the moment. Heading off to California to play for California in NCAA at uni, but before that, she's represented New South Wales, represented Australia. Was one of the few non-COE players to be in that Sapphires squad. And yeah, she was actually one of the better players on that squad as well. So it wasn't like she was just riding the end of the bench. Ruby Perkins has done it all. Like, she really has done it all in her junior career, and was already playing NBL1, I think, at age 16. I think that was 2020. I can't remember. It was when the Bears had the awful jersey with the logo on it. I can't remember. It was the Under Armour year, 2023. But then they redesigned the jersey and it looks great this time. But anyway, back to the Spiders. So yeah, Ruby Perkins, I can't speak more highly of her. She is one of the hardest working players you'll ever meet. Remember when I used to work front desk at Norths, Ruby Perkins would be there before me, normally because I'd sleep in a little bit and forget that I had to open up the stadium. No, I'm kidding. But she'd be there before, ready to go, ready to get shots up every day. And you can just tell it pays off. She's also a good learner as well, always seeking out coaching from all these different sources to try to improve her game, try to get that little edge. And it just shows out in the court. She was just relentless, but also very high IQ point guard. And of course, won the Youth League Championship and Grand Final MVP with Norths 2 years ago. So really, I'd say a pretty good signing. I'd say actually maybe a very good signing, Ruby Perkins. And also coming with her from the Bear Cave, again, as part of that traditional migration pattern between Hornsby and Norths, is Lola Grolton, who I'm really high on, actually, after seeing her play through her youth career and junior career at Norths. Was an under-16s rep for New South Wales. She's a really feisty point guard, I tell you what. Hyper athletic, gets up and gets into defenders. Like, she is like, I really respect that in a player, because anyone can get out and get buckets besides me. But no, anyone can get out there and fill them up and then slack off on defense. But how a player plays defensively says a lot about their character and what kind of talent they are and how they approach the game. And Lola's just a relentless on-ball defender. Plays with a real intensity as well, which you'd like to see in young players. He's not kind of, just turning up, I'll let my talent do the talking. She's another real hard worker. So I think she'll back up Ruby this year. Also still eligible for Youth League. She played Youth League on the weekend for the Spiders. So I could see her coming off the bench or even starting some games at the point. But is actually quite tall. So I think can actually fill in at the 2 and the 3 as well. So a lot of versatile looks for Shaq Shora. Who else do they have in the backcourt? All right. Jessie May Hall. Oh, wow.
Never heard of him.
This backcourt, I tell you what, like, commentary, my head's just going to be going side to side. Like, it's going to be way too fast. With Ruby and Jessie, that they're going to be playing a high-tempo Hornsby Ku-ring-gai. And Jessie May Hall, since she burst onto the scene in that first season, I think she's still 16 as well in her debut season, just tore it up and just had games where it looked like she was going to go for triple doubles of steals, rebounds, assists, and even quadruple doubles sometimes, with points included. You're like, this player is just unbelievable. It's like hard to describe sometimes. She's just so quick. I don't know what it is. There needs to be some kind of sports science breakdown of her fast twitch muscle fibers, the way she gets into passing lanes, gets out and runs, can beat a defender on that first step. Jessie May Hall and Ruby Perkins, that backcourt is just must-watch television. So make sure you're tuning into the Hornsby games this season. Or come to the Brick Pit. It's the place to be. Just a bit of an exclusive. They do have a bar now at the Brick Pit, and their own exclusive beer at the Brick Pit. So sorry to get a bit of a plug in there, but it's going to be the place to be this season. But especially to watch these two players. I think backing up Jessie May this season is going to be Nikki Sainsbury, who's another player of huge raps on. An absolute, we call it Sniper Sainsbury. Or Flamesbury, where still the poll's still out a nickname, but yeah, Nikki Sainsbury, another really hardworking player. I think this will be her third season now with Hornsby Kringai, and really earned her minutes throughout the year. Again, another really intense defender, and can get him up in a hurry. And saw her play a fair bit of UBL back with UTS when they had a team, and they will be returning this season.
Hey.
But Nikki Sainsbury, when she's called upon. Lockie, if you want to do commentary, hit me up.
I've already talked to Paige about it.
All right. Let's actually no. Okay, all right. Sorry, I don't want to turn it back on UNSW, but we'll get back to that later. Because yeah, Nikki Sainsbury in that team, she actually did have a bigger role in UBL, and she showed that she can really step up when she gets more shots. So if they need to call her number, she's ready to go and always plays with that kind of like next person up mentality off the bench. So Nikki Sainsbury, another good culture fit. Another great hardworking player. All right, moving in to the forwards positions. I want to talk about the import, Layla Hartman. Here we go. Hornsby, 2 imports this season. Layla Hartman is a former college teammate with assistant coach Jess Sancadolado, and they played at Northwestern together. And I think played 4 seasons there. Layla did, 3 of which were with Jess. Then I think transferred to NYU to do a film and documentary degree. She's actually got a documentary on YouTube, which you should check out. So very creative kind of person. But then Jess was telling me, just sent her a text out of the blue, and Layla's like, "Yeah, let's go. Let's come. Let's give Australia a go." Yeah, she's arrived in Australia. She was going to play at the Blitz, but of course our games got cancelled. But Layla Hartman, a real kind of 3-and-D player. I think like more of a kind of small forward, but definitely because of her defensive skill can play a little bigger sometimes. So Layla Hartman, yeah, definitely keep an eye out for her. And from reports from coaches and stuff, she's playing very unselfishly, which sometimes you don't get from your imports. But she's really bought into the system from what I've heard. So an import for the Hornsby Kringai Spiders, won an ACC championship back with Northwestern as well. But I'm not a huge NCAA fan, but I think that's a big deal. Lockie, is it?
Well, if it was
ACC,
Northwestern, it'd be a Big Ten championship if it was Northwestern.
Big Ten, sorry. It's good.
But that is pretty massive, yes.
That's a big deal. I mean, it's a Big Ten deal. So, yeah. So as I say, I don't know a whole lot about college. I don't really follow college, but I mean, to just play at that level, I mean, you got to be doing something right. So yeah, she'll fill in at the 3 or the 4. Definitely has a good 3-point shot. I think backing her up, we're gonna have Dayla Walker, a Hornsby lifer. Briefly spent a bit of time in Maitland, but came back to Hornsby in season 2 of NBL1 East. Everyone's familiar with Dayla Walker. She's one of the friendliest people in basketball in New South Wales, and is the captain of the squad as well. Dayla Walker can really play every position, even at UTS, so playing point guard a little bit. So a perfect player who can really slot in any kind of position. Now moving on, we didn't even get to the big sign of Christina Moore back at the Brick Pit. This is crazy. She was top 5 at MVP voting last season. If you guys remember that stretch of 5 games she had in Hornsby's first year, where I think she averaged like 26 or 27 points in a 5-game stretch. Has been played for Central Coast the year after. Was hoping to return to Hornsby, but things maybe just didn't work out. Then went and played for Rachel Manpar. I mean, who wouldn't? At the Central Coast. briefly, and then with the Bulls last year. But yeah, now finally back at the Brick Pit where it all started, where she played her junior basketball alongside Nicole Hutchins, alongside Jess Sanctolato. Wow. I mean, it's just a great story. Like, I got to say, and Christina Moore is just a walking bucket. Those years in college with Florida and Georgetown, you can tell, just shaped her into a player who cannot be stopped. And I think what's going to be great for Coach Shaq Shora is she can be an extra ball handler, which I think she did a little too much of with the Bulls last year. But hey, if you needed a playmake, she can, and to free up Jessie and Ruby. But she can also play big, because again, Bulls used her as a center and a power forward last year as well. So can do a bit of everything. But I think Hornsby's going to be playing a pretty high pace. So I'd be surprised to see Christina playing like kind of the small ball 4, and maybe even slotting into the 5 every now and then. But moving into the big positions, I just can't believe Christina Moore, sorry. But we don't have enough time to go into how big that is. We've got the two bigs, Iana Bay and Nicole Hutchins, back for another year. Nicole Hutchins, a legend of the Spiders, another player to go find another club, but came back once Spiders got back into the NBL1 East. Nicole Hutchins is, again, not one of the nicest people you'll meet, does a lot of volunteering work around the club, and is just a force in the paint as well. Nicole Hutchins is like, if you're an opposing center, you don't want to be matching up against her, especially defensively. To get a shot over that wingspan or to try bully her, it just can't be done in the paint. So Nicole Hutchins, I think, is going to fit in really well with this team. If you look up and down that roster, you really don't need that much more scoring. So Nicole's just going to be setting a lot of screens, going to be pick and rolling a lot, and I think she's going to be a perfect fit at that 5 spot. Have I frozen up a little bit? Oh no, there we go. I'm back. Okay,
you're still good.
Sorry,
yeah.
I was.
Still
You
good.
just thought I was like my head was still exploding from the talent of this roster. And Iana Bay, love to see it. Import, 3rd year back with the Spiders, has really made a home at the Brick Pit, and I think in her first year really started averaging around 16 points. Last year had a bit of a different role, had to do a lot more of the dirty work. But I think Iana Bay, just a multi-talented player defensively and offensively. But I wouldn't be surprised to see her playing a little more of the 5 this season as well. So maybe last year we saw a lot of Bay and Hutchins on next to each other. Maybe this year you'll see them rotated as your 2 bigs. And of course, your 3rd big is Genevieve Audette, who's a Spiders junior, had a bit of injury trouble, but is a really multi-talented center who could fit into the squad really well, Genevieve Audette. So hopefully she can stay healthy this year, because a lot of people around the Brick Pit have big raps on Genevieve as the star of the future for them. So just in conclusion, if you're starting 5, let's just do a hypothetical here. Is Ruby Perkins, Jessie May Hall, Layla Hartman, the new import, Christina Moore, and Iana Bay. That's dangerous. So compared to the first year of Spiders in the NBL1 East, in just a matter of 4 seasons, they've turned themselves into a extremely legitimate squad.
You reckon they're making top 8 this year, James?
I don't want to jinx it, but I'd say yes. I'd say so. They may even be pushing a bit higher. But the reason I say that, though, obviously this roster is talented, but in NBL1 East and across all basketball, you see rosters with talent like this. I think the X factor is, again, Shaq Shora and Coach Jess as well. I think they'll get all these people playing a good brand of basketball, a style that works, that is defensive-minded, gets out and runs, and is unselfish. So I think because of the coaching staff bringing all this talent together, they could be a top 5 team.
Top 5. Very nice. Very nice. So I know that this has probably been the longest episode we've ever had of East Got Game. It definitely could have been a 2-parter, but
yes.
Don't be sorry. Don't be sorry. This is why we're here. I mean, next time I think we could plan it as a 2-parter, but we'll know that for season 5, so that's okay. I know there'll be lots of EGG fans, the long-term loyal EGG fans, who will be frothing over a near 3-hour episode. So we're going to make a lot of people happy nonetheless. But what I want to do, I just want to finish this episode on SJ's question he asked on an Instagram live video a little bit earlier, which I thought was a great question and worth holding on to the end. So now that we've talked about the men's and women's teams that we're most excited about ahead of this 2026 season that tips off on the weekend. SJ's question for everyone was, which team that missed the top 8 last season has the best chance of making the top 8 this season, and who do you think is going to fall out of the top 8? So if you need, I can bring up the ladders from last season and give you a reminder of the top 8, because I was also like, great question. Let me look at the ladder though, because there ain't no way I'm remembering the top 8. So if we go back and talk about the men's first, given that we covered their rosters first, top 8 after the regular season in 2025, from 1st to 8th went Illawarra, Centre of Excellence, Canberra Gunners, Sydney Comets, Bankstown Bruins, North Bears, Manly Warringah Sea Eagles, Sutherland Sharks. So the question is, who is falling out of that top 8 and who is going to make it in the top 8 this season that didn't last season?
Well, Maitland's the team that's making it in that didn't last season in the men's. That's just
correct.
Probably the most obvious answer.
Yeah, for sure.
And I mean, if I'd have to pick one out of all these teams, I'd probably have to go Manly Warringah on the men's to fall out. I mean, they only just scraped in, as did Sutherland last year.
They both had a 11-9 win-loss record, with I think Manly getting the split, because Sutherland Sharks actually had a better points percentage, but they must have had the...
Please stop reminding me.
Sure. We'll leave it at that. So, Lockie, you're saying Manly Warringah Sea Eagles are meant to fall out of the top 8 and replaced by Maitland Mustangs. I think that's a pretty good bet, to be fair. What do you think, James?
I'm just going to go for someone different just to keep it spicy. I think the team that's jumping in is going to be NOS Bulls, with Bleachmore, Kobe Shannon, Malok Majak. Sorry, there's too many players to list. Go watch my video, please. But yeah, there's plenty of talent on the NOS Bulls. If they can play together, though, if they can get the chemistry going well, I think they'll be very dangerous this year. But I think the team dropping out, I'm sorry to say, is going to be the Sydney Comets. Just based on chemistry, I just think they've got. I mean, don't get me wrong, I still think they most likely will be in the top 8, but I think out of all those teams, they've just had a bit too much roster change, and I think there's not enough games in the season to kind of figure out a whole new playing squad. But again, I didn't want to pick anyone, but I just think maybe Sydney Comets, even Centre of Excellence, depends who they have, may drop out. But yeah, definitely think keep an eye on the NOS Bulls to be on parade into the top 8.
Very good. And I do have to say, got to apologise, Instagram live updates. I was a bit behind on them. We had Lockie Everett saying, give me all the stock on Izzy Morgan if she's a second half of the year signing. But she's been announced. So
she's already been announced.
She's a lock.
It's just when she actually gets to play is the thing.
And yeah, actually, I saw some photos from the Blitz and it looked like she was on court for Norths. I know she had an injury with the Flames, but it looks like she's back. I'm not too sure. But for Norths, damn.
And also, this just in from our mate Jacob, who's also one of the photographers from around the league. He's just said, have you done the Hornsby NBL1 women's yet? Which we didn't, unfortunately, but Piper Anderson.
Wait, who?
You mean Hills?
Hills, sorry. Officially, very happy. Apparently,
2 hours out, a new player getting signed. That's incredible. Wow.
The words of Ferris Bueller
this year.
Yeah. Our friend Robbie Clayton, who is a commentator at Hills, he's predicting both the men's and women's teams to make top 8 this season.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, now they've got Kalea, Johnson, Belko, Piper
Chris
Anderson.
Sano.
Yeah.
Wow, yeah, a lot of WNBL talent on that. Wow. Oh, you heard it here last, guys. It's great. No, I mean, Liz loving it. Yeah, that's gonna be huge. Okay, we'll have to do another episode. Damn, wow. Yeah, Hills Hornets.
This is why we don't do our predictions anymore until after round 3 or 4, because it's just like. All right, and then lastly, same question, but for the women's competition. Who is making the top 8 that didn't last season, and who are they going to replace? So I'm going to go through the top 8 after the regular season for 2025 for the women. So Manly Warringah Seagulls, minor premiers on top. North Bears were 2nd, Newcastle 3rd, Albury Wodonga 4th. Centre of Excellence 5th, Bankstown Bruins 6th, Maitland Mustangs 7th, Canberra Nationals 8th.
Do I need to say it?
Well, obviously, yeah. I think the ins are Sutherland for me and Hornsby for James.
I was going to pick Sutherland, and I think you were going to pick Spiders because we're not biased here. But
I'm going to go the spicy take and say COE to drop out.
Yeah. Ooh, okay, Lockie. Love the confidence. That's good. So COE to drop out and Sutherland.
I don't know. It's just, I know they've got some really good players that are getting a year older, but I just think like they finished 12-8 with Sataya Fagan. Do they have a player that good? That can
it's always hard to tell with COE.
Yeah. Well, I think like the top 4 from last year are staying in. Bankstown are going to be better. Canberra are going to be better. I don't want Shaq and Sezzy in my DMs if I pick Maitland.
Yeah, I think Maitland will have a turnaround year, but again, we don't have time in the episode. But I think last year was a bit of a glitch, to be honest. I think they're going to be, they're going to be much better this season. I mean, they're pretty good last season, like 10-10, but I think they're going to really like go to another level this season.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's a coin toss for me between someone like, say, Maitland and Hornsby. I reckon it'll be Maitland and Hornsby fighting for the 8th spot.
Yeah,
too many teams for the number of spots. Too many good teams.
Yeah, it's good. I think in previous years maybe the women's competition's been very top heavy with like the top 4, 5, 6 have been dominant, really dominant teams. Which has kind of brought down the lower teams as well. But I think definitely this year it's going to even up a lot. Let's have chemistry questions maybe with Bankstown. Hopefully they can get it all working out. And Newcastle I think will be really good. I definitely don't think they're going to drop out of the top 8, but I just hope there's not too much of a log jam in the middle. I hope they can figure out the spacing. But I think that, they'll still be top 8. Damn, it's really difficult.
I think you made a good point. I think you made a good point, James, that it does. He's just tuned back in. Do you all have Bruins in top 8? Yes, we do, SJ. Yes. We definitely do have Bruins in top 8. We just covered your question, by the way, mate. So hopefully you caught the end of that. If not, you can tune in on your preferred streaming platform to find the episode. Gentlemen, I think we need to call it there.
Yep.
Yeah.
As much as I love nerding out about the NBL1 East with both of you, I think I've exploited your expertise and your time and your efforts and your hard work enough for 3 hours to cover this episode. And I think we better call it. And I think it's not so much a timeout. We better call full time on this one.
I think so.
But before we go, James, can you just remind everyone where we can find Waratah on VCR?
Okay. You can just hit up Waratah on VCR on Instagram, but please, more importantly, please follow the videos on YouTube. I put a lot of effort into doing those preview videos, about 8 to 10 hours sometimes. Anyway, and they're very detailed, but of course, a lot of basketball communities on Instagram, but please jump over to Waratah on VCR on YouTube because that's really where I put a lot of effort into the content. Of course, we'll be doing a lot of stuff on Instagram, but yeah, I'd love to just get a few more people tuning in on YouTube because I put a lot of effort into those videos. But yeah, definitely hit me up. But I thought of a good sign off, but I'll let you guys say a few more things.
No, please. The last thing I'll say is that SJ said we've gone into triple OT, and that's the perfect way to describe it. So I will throw back to you after that, James, with the sign off, and then I'm going to hit that outro video.
I was going to say, we got to go get some sleep, but remember, don't sleep on the East. Oh, okay, you guys are still here.
I keep hitting end stream.